can't beat them, then you pop them. You can't man them, then you mop them. You can't stand them, then you drop them. You pop them, cause we pop them like over red and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire.
Welcome back to the Bitcoin economy. We are bringing the first ever Midweek Markets where we talk Bitcoin, but we open it up a little bit more. Today, we are joined by a guest who is the infrastructure backbone for giants like Stripe, Interactive Brokers, Tasty Trade, and many more. While others had folded in the space, he just recently raised $100 million to build the true rails of the crypto economy. So welcome, Edward Woodford, the CEO of Zero Hash. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Good to be here with you both.
So just mentioned it. Yeah, you guys go way back here. But you guys just closed that massive Series D a little bit ago, led by Interactive Brokers. So let's talk about that. Like, we came from the space, competitors back in the day, of course, but won't focus on that. I want to focus on how you guys survived and again, thriving with this massive Series D as well from a very reputable company in the space.
Yeah, so look, it's good to be friends with your competitors. Yeah, look, we've taken a very long-term view on this space. Been building in the space since 2017. And, we've been building and happy to continue to build for the next 10, 20 years in this space. I think we're still really, really early. So that's helped. How we view the world is, hey, we're here for the next 20 years, 30 years indefinitely. And I think one of the challenges in the space is just to avoid what I call the magpie effect, which is shiny, shiny, shiny. And so that long-term view has definitely helped. I'll raise it. Funny enough, it was only a few months ago, I think two months ago since we announced it, but it feels like a lifetime ago in some ways. But yeah, it was led by Interactive Brokers with participation from groups like Jump Trading, Morgan Stanley, Apollo, Northwestern Mutual, a bunch of different SoFi. So really a hit list of large financial institutions that are looking to embed this technology, whether it be through a crypto application, whether it through tokenization, whether it be through stablecoins. And obviously that investment in us is tied to other kind of commercial partnerships as well.
I'll go for Sean. Sean, you
wait? No, yeah, go for it. I was going to take the next. No, I was going to take. I
wowed you guys, or I stunned you.
Yeah, no. I was going to take the. I want to ask him about the market.
I'll grab the next question. No worries. So you mentioned, Morgan Stanley with E Trade, crypto launch trading in 2026. Yeah. So it's no secret, right? Today we have the FOMC meeting, which is everyone's kind of watching that right now, but. On a broader macro perspective in 2026, do you think this is going to be like the year the floodgates actually open? We just saw, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, a lot of the big institutions. I know Charles Schwab's going to start doing spot trading for Bitcoin. Bank of America just got heavily involved. So if you're in the space, it feels like it's here. But for the normies in the world, do you think 2026 is that finally the year where Bitcoin and crypto becomes mainstream more so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to know where we are and kind of what's changing. So look, 55 million Americans own crypto today. But there clearly is, I think, a lot of Americans that don't own crypto, a lot of people in the world that don't yet own crypto. And then secondly, a lot of under allocation. And what we're seeing, and Morgan Stanley E Trade is a great example of that, is the large banks entering and offering crypto to their customers. So what does that do? One, it increases ease of access, which will increase the number of people holding crypto today. But secondly, if you look at, for example, what I would call under-allocated pools of capital, that includes retirement, that includes advisory, that includes high net worth. Without banks entering the space, those areas will remain under-allocated, right? And so the first step that we're seeing is banks offer crypto, a spot product, through, for example, Zero Hash, as is the case with Morgan Stanley, and we'll be announcing others shortly. And then from there, we'll see groups actually be able to embed crypto as part of an allocated profile. What does this mean from a macro perspective? We've been saying this for years, but I think you're starting to see it really come to fruition. Every traditional financial group will offer crypto. every crypto group will offer traditional financial services. And you're seeing this just, for example, in the acquisitions that, for example, Kraken has made with acquiring NinjaTrader. They're offering stocks now as well. And so there's this convergence between these ecosystems. And if you actually wanted to put, for example, prediction markets and gaming in there as well, you're seeing this massive convergence between traditional finance and banking, crypto, and prediction markets all become one. So I actually think in a year, 2 years time, if you look at the P&L of, for example, Coinbase, where they make money, the percentage of it that comes from pure play crypto will actually start to look very similar to, for example, a Robinhood's financials, where at points Robinhood has made 20 to 50% of their revenue from crypto. I think you're going to see a massive convergence. So these businesses are going to look very similar. And Zero Hash's role is to bring traditional players into the space to be able to compete effectively with groups that are already looking to compete with them.
Yeah, no, I think that resonates 100% to how I'm seeing the space. I mean, who are you seeing, really quick before I go to the next question, I want to ask, who do you see currently? Is it still a lot of institutional, or is it more, are we seeing even more retail? What's the breakdown on your end?
Yeah, look, we're predominantly focused on B2B2C, which is retail, but retail can mean everything from, a 21-year-old fresh out of college to somebody who has $200 million of net worth and is a customer of Morgan Stanley E Trade. So we're very focused on bringing in millions and millions of people access through crypto. We actually released a report just over a week ago. I don't know if you caught it, but we actually shared our demographics of customers buying crypto. And I think people were surprised actually at these demographics. 30% of our customers buying crypto in the last 3 years are female. And the average age is 39 years old. Overcoming kind of this, I think, the stigma or this perception that it's always, a crypto bro in their mother's basement. That is just not factually who has been buying crypto over the last few years. I think you saw it with the kind of unlock of demographics in the most recent election, where people that own crypto really turned out in the election. And we also released a report that was picked up by Forbes that showed that if you are an advisor and you don't offer crypto, you will lose clients. And so for us, we think it's an important part of the story. It's an important part of someone's portfolio is to have crypto in their books. What I think is, again, really interesting, though, is actually the broader part of our business. So, for example, Interactive Brokers started embedding crypto a few years ago with Zero Hash to their customers. And then just this week, they actually launched stablecoin account funding with Zero Hash as well for their entire business. So you can fund your account with stablecoins and then buy a stock of Apple, completely unrelated to what people perceive as crypto. So, and then I think you'll see players, and IBIT have been pretty public around their interest in tokenization. How does that apply? So really, we view this as a technological framework, and a lot of people are starting with crypto trading, but there's a whole host of other services that you'll see them embed as well.
Yeah, no,
stablecoin, just real quick. Sean,
go ahead.
Let me just jump on that piece real quick, because the one thing you mentioned, female, we certainly, and maybe Sean and I just aren't that good looking, but we don't have, I think we're about like 15% female. But then the other thing, we're at like 37 average age for listeners, and that was shocking for us too. So even though we are talking more institutional, the other piece I just wanted to bring up, Sean, before you hop in, is the piece about like even Vanguard. I didn't mention them earlier, but IRAs or RIAs now are going to be able to do that, and that's going to be absolutely massive. I mean, that's trillions of dollars, and I think over the next 10 years, it's like 20 trillion. I've heard various numbers, 20 to 100 trillion dollars, basically coming over to our generation, right? And if the average age is around 30, 40, that's going to be not too long before a lot of that money starts flowing in.
Absolutely. I think what you're referring to is what I think sometimes people in wealth call the great generational wealth transfer. I think it's a polite, euphemistic way of saying people are dying and transferring wealth down. But it's a huge, huge story. If you actually listen to Vlad and Quirk from Robinhood, they talk about this a lot. And, if you think about it, if you have this generational transfer to people in their early 40s, many of them already own crypto today. And if you look at your portfolio and your wealth manager doesn't offer access to crypto, that changes things. I've spent a lot of time with the heads of global wealth of large banks. There's actually two key times when people are at risk of losing your wealth, where wealth managers perceive risk. One is divorce, two is death. And so the wealth transfer is real. The need to connect and offer services that people actually already have today is critically important, especially when you have Robinhood trying to offer a more holistic wealth suite to their customers. So this is a very, very real conversation at the highest levels of banks.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack in what you just said, because I have focused on the RIA space in the past. And the thing I will say about RIAs is they're very stuck in their ways. But, we saw this same demographic and our story, if you will, here in Chicago with the trading floor. So you had the trading floor, which was all manual, human run, everything. And then electronic trading came along. And when electronic trading came along, people said, oh, this isn't going to last. This is bad for the market, yada, yada, yada. Well, here we are now. And look at where this is going. It's only getting more involved. But on that note of changing markets, stablecoins, the word that I think you can't go a single day without hearing a news article every day. Do you think we're right now with stablecoins? You have PayPal pushing PYUSD, you have Stripe buying Bridge, you have all of these other things, going on. You have credit unions looking at creating their own stablecoins, banks, etc. Are we at a tipping point? Are we at FOMO? What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, look, I still think we're very early in terms of wallet share. And when I say wallet share, I don't mean it by like crypto wallets. I mean wallet share in terms of how people move value globally today.
Yep.
I still think we're incredibly early. I say this, and I don't mean this to be flippant, but stablecoins have grown despite this largely being an unusable technology for most people, right? The concept of me moving a stablecoin to you today is pretty high friction, right? I would need to say to you, hey, Sean, what stablecoin do you want? Do you want USDC? Do you want USDT? Right. Okay, cool. You want USDC? Okay, which chain do you want it on? Okay, you want it on Solana? Well, I've got USDC ETH, right? So this complexity exists, and I say that as somebody who's spent their life building in the space, and I say this because it actually really excites me. People use stablecoins despite these frictions. So what actually happens when we solve the UX challenge and when we abstract the technical complexity? And this is a big focus of Zero Hash, is we believe that we've helped abstract away complexity for institutions, whether it be groups like Gusto on payouts, or groups like Kalshi for account funding, whether it be Stripe for payouts as well, whether it be pay-ins products such as groups like FTMO that we power. We've abstracted away that complexity. Where we really focus is abstracting away usability complexity, abstracting away the concepts of chains and assets, so it's more of an account-to-account transfer. And I think you're going to see a massive explosion. The importance of interoperability and usability, there's a lot of parallels. And Sean, you drew a couple of parallels. I'll draw one myself. When we started with the SMS, you can only text people that were on the same network as you. It's almost similar to, hey, I can only send you USDC on Solana if you also are on USDC Solana. When you make it truly interoperable, and we've done a ton of work on this and we're going to do even more, then the usability will explode in the same way that if you look at SMS usage and when you made it truly interoperable, it exploded in usability. So I think we're still very, very early. We've seen massive growth despite a lot of friction. As we lower the friction, the number of use cases and applications will grow as well. Of course, there is froth. I don't think everyone doing everything in this space makes a ton of sense, right? But we're very clear in terms of where we perceive value and the use cases that we perceive are important.
Avi, one thing I just want to mention on that. The reason I think in the US, I think people don't. So the US is a unique scenario, because if you look at the US, we have, I don't know, I can do probably 7 different ways to send money right now, instantly. That being said, though, if you look abroad, it's nowhere near like what it is in the US to send money. It's still very, very archaic.
Yeah, well, and I think we just saw they just changed their name to Block, but I was gonna say Square, 3 million, 3 or 4 actually. I think it was 4 million different businesses that they just operate, or they allowed to go and buy Bitcoin. And when I was getting my haircut a few weeks ago, I was talking a bit about Bitcoin, obviously, and sure enough, the haircut, he bought some right in front of me, and he opened it up, and it was Cash App. And I was like, maybe people are like using more of these well-known now that you can, that's where the masses are. Quick question on that. Do you foresee, what's your prediction in terms of like, PayPal? Is it going to be these monster players, traditional players that, because they already have the audience, or do you see prediction markets were kind of unique, but like Kalshi, Polymarket, they didn't exist prior, right? So do you see someone new popping in here and kind of taking some of that mind share?
Yeah, look, I maybe answer the question in terms of it slightly differently in terms of kind of network effects. So what Cash App did, and I think they did a great job with their launch of stablecoins, is what shifted in the last 2-3 years is just the accessibility of stablecoins through what I would call a primary account, where you already have an account where you already hold money, right? So, if you have a PayPal account, you have a Venmo account, you have a Cash App account, you have a Revolut account, if you have a new banking account in Brazil, the number of people that have access to a stablecoin, whether they know it or not now, is incredibly simple. So my view on stablecoins is that they are an incredible way to move money, like money in motion. Money at rest, I think a lot of time it makes more sense to just hold dollars. For example, if you have a Cash App account, just hold dollars, right? You earn interest, you're taking sovereign risk, you're not taking private commercial risk, and it's insured. But if, for example, on a Sunday morning, you want to fund your Kalshi account, you can now do that with one click through Zero Hash from your Cash App account. If you want to receive a payout from Gusto and you're in Brazil and you don't want to wait 5 days, you just, from your perception, I'm just getting paid into my new bank account. So this goes back to my point around account-to-account transfer. So what's really interesting about these behemoths entering the space is that the network connectivity that we've seen has just exploded in the last 2 years. And that's incredibly powerful in terms of the usability of this technology.
Well, the days of these private closed networks, and I'm not going to name the 2 biggest out there that everybody uses day in, day out for a debit card or credit card. But the fact that they're joining in on this sent a very clear message to me of where this industry is going, because sending money to other places or moving money it's by design, it has been difficult. And there's intermediaries because they all collect fees. But I think the overall theme of people being empowered to have more access to information, they're like, well, wait a minute. If you can send it instantly, why can't I? And, so definitely it's great to see the stuff you guys are doing over there at Zero Hash. Where does regulation come in all this? Do we continue down the path we're on with regulation, or is this only under the current administration, then everything stops?
Good question. I mean, I think fundamentally, this is actually in many ways more bipartisan topic in many ways, right? Like people look at, I give the example of Sub 121, which is a very, very niche accounting bulletin, but which had a massive impact, what I would call regulation by rulemaking. And it's Staff Accounting Bulletin 121. And what it effectively meant was that it basically dissuaded any publicly traded company or any brokerage from offering crypto to their customers. There was no law against it, but it basically made it so cumbersome from an accounting perspective, it basically dissuaded people. That was a regulatory agency that put it out, and then actually both houses actually said this was a massive overreach of an agency, so you could actually override it. And then what happened was that Biden and then actually vetoed it. So actually, if you look at it, both houses actually believe that this wasn't a good policy, it wasn't a good rule, and actually it usurped the power of Congress. Look, I think fundamentally, there is an acknowledgement globally, right? If you look at, for example, Europe under Mika, and I think whatever party's in power, there is a huge understanding that this is a critical part of competitiveness globally, right? Obviously, you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here, but I moved here and stayed here since 2017 to build this business.
Right.
And when you've got every bank entering the space, I don't think you can go backwards, nor do I think most people want to go backwards. I think that the debates now are more, they're important debates, but they're a little bit more fringe in the sense of they're should these stablecoins be yield bearing or not, right? But no one's arguing, hey, we shouldn't allow stablecoins. We shouldn't allow banks to issue stablecoins. We shouldn't allow banks to intersect with stablecoins. I think if you look at crypto, I actually don't think most people are arguing over the fundamentals of whether this is a security or commodity. Should we allow this? Should this be accessible to people? Right. This is an asset that's held by 55 million Americans. I think by the next election, you'll have over 100 million Americans own crypto. That's more people than own a dog, by the way, today. More people hold Bitcoin than a dog. So it's like, it just doesn't make political sense.
Owning Bitcoin is a little easier than having a dog.
I just think that you're not going backwards. Look, there's still work to be done. But what you saw that actually happened with regulatory clarity through, for example, Genius, was it expedited the network effects. And what really excites me about Genius is that it will increase accessibility to every bank. So we spoke about Cash App and Venmo and the accessibility. Well, imagine that if that's at your Morgan Stanley account. Imagine that if that's at your JPM account, that you can use this. What that does from a network distribution perspective, and bear in mind, we're talking about two-sided networks here, it grows exponentially. So that's what really, really excites me, is clarity increases the distribution of this technology, and that distribution of technology leads to use cases, and that's ultimately what we're focused on.
Well, you come from a background, really quick, you come from a background where you start, when Zero Hash started, you guys were going to do like a whole, I think, FCM, like you were going to do like the future side of the business and things of that, and exchange and all, the whole 9 yards. What I'll say is, like, you look at what's going on with, the Genius Act was so critical because it laid the foundation for the first time in legislation, you actually had legislation on crypto, which is was unheard of. And now you have other things coming. Like yesterday, the OCC came out and said that banks can basically set up OTC desks and be a counterparty to the trades, riskless principal trades, mind you. But it's a lot of positive news. We never saw this in the last run, in the last boom of this whole topic. It got stopped right away. So
and just on that point, I think, which is really, really important, you asked about regulation to me. I've spoken about this a lot, but there's no law being written that said the OCC could do that, right? Like, what actually happened is that there were, in the prior administration, there were 3 elements that happened. Again, none of it tied to laws. We've already seen the shift in the last 3 months, but we saw regulation by implication, which was groups like the OCC and Fed and Coinbase has, forwarded a lot of these letters that basically tried to dissuade banks from doing anything in the space. So the OCC providing clarity is a good thing. Secondly is regulation by enforcement, which I think we all understand. And then finally, it was regulation by rulemaking, which was that point I made about SARB 121. And then, of course, there's actual regulation and actual lawmaking. What we've seen in the last over the last year is the pullback of those regulation that effectively usurps the power of Congress, pull that back into a more logical approach. And then you've seen rulemaking and lawmaking be made. And that's positive. And I think it's a US story. I think it's also a European story. I think it's a Middle East story. I think, the story is global.
Yeah.
We have a special segment called Rapid Fire, where we ask you 5 predictions for the future. Try to answer within 20, 30 seconds if you can. And this is our first time doing it, so we'll give it a go. But kind of rapid fire here at the end. You guys sit right at the intersection, obviously, of TradFi, FX, and crypto. There's been a lot of rumors about this by potentially even next year. But simple prediction, do you think by 2030, stablecoin settlement volume flips Swift wires in terms of volumes?
No.
I'll go
have
if you
have to bring Edward back on to get a deep dive into that
in
one.
2030.
Well,
Oh yeah,
I'm happy.
that's only
I'm
like
happy.
4
I'm
years.
happy.
Bro.
I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You're emotional hedge there. Reverse M&A shock. So we saw Stripe, and you kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but we saw Stripe buy Bridge. Do you think in the next 24 months we'll see the reverse, actually, where a massive crypto native infrastructure would buy potentially like a regional bank to get that
100%.
master account?
100% yes. I mean, I think 100% yes.
You guys are already powering Franklin Templeton tokenized money market fund. Larry Fink says everything's going to be tokenized. You actually have to build the plumbing for it. So beyond treasuries, what do you predict as the next massive asset class to go entirely on chain in 2025?
I think tokenized
26 because you only got like 20 days.
Sean, let's not
Sure,
undersell.
2026 we'll extend it to.
Let's not undersell what can happen in the next.
All right. Well, I mean, maybe if
but yeah, I think you're going to see tokenized deposits.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Most of your clients are, live off interchange fees from Visa, MasterCard. If payments move to stablecoins, interchange fees effectively go to zero, from my understanding. Does the entire fintech revenue model collapse in the next 5 years, or do they change it and find ways to monetize the stablecoin flow?
It changes and it depends on the use case and fundamental application. I think a lot of the applications that we've seen today, right? Like, for example, myself, I like my Amex rewards. I like my Cash App rewards. Buying a coffee, I think I'm still going to use debit or credit card, right? But there's a ton of other pieces there that exist, whether it be B2B cross-border payments, whether it be account funding, whether it be all these other pieces that we've kind of spoken about. So I certainly think that that some portion of the share will be taken, but I'm much more bullish on what versus a PTM, like a peer, like a customer or customer to merchant.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm much more bullish on like, hey, a merchant settling with the acquirer or the bank or that business doing treasury movements. That to me is the much bigger use case as opposed to kind of like the pay or pay-ins use case, which is largely where the interchange accrues.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, I think you'll see it. You're definitely going to see some of the interchange being eaten, but there's going to be other ways for credit unions, for banks, for all these different fintechs to make money. And I think it really is what it's going to do more is really level the playing field more instead of it being so lopsided to a few companies that we all know.
Last question here. The sovereign buy wall. So everyone's been talking about the U.S. Guys, freeze there. Oh, we're back. Yeah. Everyone's talking about the U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve as of now, and I could be incorrect, but they just recently said taxes can be paid in Bitcoin. And so that will add to the strategic reserve, things that they've been accumulating from different wallets that have done nefarious acts. That's going in the reserve. They did come out and say that they would not necessarily start buying. But if the U.S. did start buying, let's call it 1 million Bitcoin, where does that liquidity sit in like a vault? Or do we see a world where central banks are going to start lending against the Bitcoin reserves to provide liquidity for the banking sector, do you think? By the end of the decade, let's call it.
I mean, I think with any asset, you have to be able to lend against it. And I think, again, it's not like what we saw with BlockFi and other use cases. I think what we'll see in the next wave is actually, bringing this back to maybe something that's maybe a bit more personal is, I think what you'll see with wealth clients, and we're already starting to have some very, very advanced discussions on this, is it's not lending out your Bitcoin to earn reward, like to earn yield. That was like the BlockFi model. It's more that, say, I have $10 million worth of Bitcoin and I get a $6 million loan against it. It's not about giving my Bitcoin and I get more Bitcoin back. And that is a natural part of financial ecosystems, right? Wealthy people really don't sell things; they get loans against them. Same thing with with governments to some degree. So, 100%, any holding of crypto, in my mind, should be used as good collateral for lending against.
And you've seen that with, I 100% agree with you. And you've seen that with what's going on, like with the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the housing, Bill Pulte came out and said, come up with a structure that allows people that are holding Bitcoin to use that as collateral or, you know, in their income overall picture when looking to actually get a mortgage. Because for myself, like I got a mortgage in 22 and, you know, I've been in this space since 2012, 2013. And, you know, if I told the mortgage broker, I was like, hey, I want to use my, you know, do you care about my Bitcoin? He's like, yeah, no, we can't even touch that. Don't even bring it up. I'm like, so what? It's just play money? Like,
but no, that is huge. That's absolutely massive. Edward, anything you want to share that we didn't cover today? You made it through the first ever rapid rounds, but anything else you'd want to share? Or?
No, glad to be on the inaugural part of that, and you know, happy to be wrong on those predictions. So,
love it.
But yeah, no, it's good to be here and excited to continue building. And if people want to reach out, it's just contact@zerohash.com.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for coming on. If you guys all want to stick around that are watching, you'll get a live Bitcoin price, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes or so for the next podcast as well. So we're going to be bringing on 2 hedge fund guys, and so it should be pretty interesting, as well as Adrian from One Big Party. So Edward, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you around.
Thanks, Howard.
I can't blame it, no. No. Okay. Listen, hard to build and trust from a distance. I think we should rule out commitment for now, 'cause we're falling apart. just doing that to get even. Don't pick up the pieces, just leave it for now. They keep falling apart. Passionate from miles away. Passionate. Yeah, no, 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 no. Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man. Stealing, and this is how you remind me. This is how you remind me. This is how you remind me. What I really am. It's not like you to say sorry. I was waiting on a different story. This time I'm mistaken. Fan of your heart worth breaking. And I've been wrong. I've been down. Been the bottom every bottle. These 5 words in my head scream, are we having fun? Yeah, 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 yeah. Are we having fun? Yeah, 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 yeah. Are we having fun? Yeah, 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 yeah. These 5 words in my head scream, yeah, 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 yeah. These 5 words in my head, no, no.
I mean, the core idea of Bland is that everybody was sold a broken promise when phone trees came out. And we were told that that would make our lives easier, but it's made all
God showed me the way because the devil's trying to break me down. The only thing that I pray is that my feet don't fail me now. And I don't think there's nothing I can do now to right my wrongs. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we ain't spoken so long. To the slave soldiers, I ain't talking about the footwear, but the ones that died for this country that we have. To the hustlers, that's if you're still living, getting money legally. I'm never going to hell, I'm never going to jail. And if you are, then I'm praying for you, I'm saying for you. They said you can rap about anything except for Jesus. That means guns, sex, lies, videotapes. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played, huh? Well, if this take away from my spins, which will probably take away from my ends, then I hope this take away from my sins and bring the day that I'm dreaming about. Next time I'm in the club, everybody screaming out, Jesus walks. God showed me the way because the devil's trying to break me down. Jesus walks with me. The only thing that I pray is that my feet don't fail me now. Jesus walks. And I don't think there's nothing I can do now to right my wrongs. Jesus walks with me. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we ain't spoken so long. Jesus walks. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we ain't spoken so long. Jesus walks with me. So long, so long, so long. Jesus walks. I want to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we ain't spoken so long. Jesus walks with me. So long, so long. I walk through the valley of the shadow.
It's a dream to me. I don't want to wake up. Really, God cares about having my cake up. So I'm by my paper.
Whoa. 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 Go, shorty, it's your birthday. Yeah. Yeah. You can find me in the club, a bottle full of bub. Look, mommy, I got the X if you're into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rubbed. When I put up out front, you see the Benz on dubs. 20 deep in the spot,
29s in the club. They heard I roll with D. Now they show me lookers like I'm hoes wanna fuck, they can't get enough. Ain't nothing changed, G's up, hoes down. Roll out a weed up, exhibit in the town. I got hit, but I don't walk with a limp. They love me like Pac, coast to coast, don't slip, full of folks and money on my mind. $1 million out the deal, still on my grind. Oh, you can find me in the club, bottle full of bug. Mommy, I got the X if you're into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rough. Oh, come give me a hug if you're into getting rough. Oh, come give me a hug if you're into getting rough. Toasting to the good life. You hating, you should be happy I made it right. When my joint bump in the club, it's on. Wink at a girl, she gone by the song. Roof on fire, let the mother burn. Talk money, I don't ever get concerned. Switch the style up, watch the money pile up. We can smash a bottle, you know what's up. You can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Mommy got the X if you're into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. Yeah! Find me in the club, bottle full of bug. Mama got the X if you're into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rough. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rough.
I'm a young money millionaire, tougher than Nigerian hair. My criteria compared to your career just isn't fair. I'm a venereal disease, like a menstrual I bleed through the pencil and leak on the sheet of the tablet in my mind. Cause I don't write nothing, cause I ain't got time. Cause my seconds, minutes, hours go to the almighty dollar and the almighty power of Allah. Yeah, sister, brother, son, daughter, father, mother, loving coppers. Got the Maserati dancing on the bridge, trunk popping till the coppers, ha 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 ha. You can't catch them, you can't stop them. I go by them goon rules. If you can't beat them, then you pop them. You can't man them, then you mop them. You can't stand them, then you drop them. You pop them, cause we pop them like over red and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire. But y'all really wanna die, y'all don't really wanna do it. If hip-hop is dead, I am the embiotic fluid. And I don't care who it be, I'm stepped into it. Notice I say it, cause to me it ain't get it. Call what you like, trick, call me on my sidekick. Never answer when it's private, man I hate a shy chick. Don't you hate a shy chick? I had to grab the shy chick, and she ain't shy no more. She changed her name to my chick. Yeah, boy, that's my girl, and she pops excellent up in Wayne's World. Totally do. You should see their faces when they see that this robot can move, and it's safe. Yeah, and it go. That's right, a millionaire. A young money, cash money, fast money, slow money, more money, never no money. What is that? Who is that? I never heard of it. I will take your picture and make a rest in peace shirt of it. Someone should take this beat and make a rest in peace shirt of it because I killed it. Now don't tell no one you heard of me. It's like the beat was screaming murder me, and I'm a murderer. I murdered it, and you rappers is what I eat, and I'll make sure of it. And he who don't believe I make dessert of him, shame on him or her, Carter, father of this rap thing. This is my race, go take a lap, man. Wheezy babies, nursery, go take a nap, man. It's nap time. Holler back at you at snack time. Weezy, yeah. Okay, they say I'm rapping like Big J and Tupac. I'm Break 3000, where is Erica? I do that. Who that? Who that said they gon' beat Lil Wayne? My name ain't Big, but I keep that flame. Boy, who that boy? Who that boy? You knew that true, that's following. I beat a now you got loose vowels. I don't owe you like 2 vowels, but I like for you to pay me by the hour. And I'd rather be pushing flowers than to be in the pen sharing showers. See, Tony told us this world was ours, and the Bible told us every girl was sour. Don't play in a garden, don't smell a flower. Call me Mr. Carter or Mr. Llama. Boy, I got so many girls like a Mike Lowry. Even Gwen Stefani said she couldn't doubt me. Man, life just ain't life without me. Hip-hop just ain't hip-hop without me. A millionaire, I'm a young money millionaire. Tougher than Nigerian hair, my criteria compared to your career just isn't fair. I'm a venereal disease, like a menstrual I bleed through the pencil and leak on the sheet of the tablet in my mind. Cause I don't write nothing, cause I ain't got time. Cause my seconds, minutes, hours go to the almighty dollar and the almighty power of Allah. Yeah, sister, brother, son, daughter, father, mother, loving coppers. Got the Maserati dancing on the bridge, trunk popping till the coppers, ha 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 ha. You can't catch them, you can't stop them. I go by them goon rules. If you can't beat them, then you pop them. You can't man them, then you mop them. You can't stand them, then you drop them. You pop them, cause we pop them like over red and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire. But y'all really wanna die? Y'all don't really wanna do it. If hip-hop is dead, I am the embiotic fluid, and I don't care who it be, I'm stepped into it. Notice I say it, cause to me it ain't get it. Call what you like trick, call me on my sidekick. Never answer when it's private, man I hate a shy chick. Don't you hate a shy chick? I had to grab the shy chick, and she ain't shy no more. She changed her name to my chick. Yeah, boy, that's my girl, and she pops excellent up in Wayne's World. Totally do. You should see their faces when they see that this robot can move, and it's safe. Yeah, and it go. That's right, a millionaire. I'm a young money, cash money, fast money, slow money, more money, never no money. What is that? Who is that? I never heard of it. I will take your picture and make a rest in peace shirt of it. Someone should take this beat and make a rest in peace shirt of it because I killed it. Now don't tell no one you heard of me. It's like the beat was screaming murder me, and I'm a murderer. So I murdered it, and you rappers is what I eat, and I'll make sure of it. And he who don't believe I make dessert of him, sugar, I mean shame on him or her, Carter, father of this rap thing. This is my race, go take a lap, man. Wheezy babies, nursery, go take a nap, man. It's nap time. I holler back.
There we go. I was wondering how he fixed that up.
Hey,
We're
good
back.
morning, Adrian. Good to
Oh
see you
my
again, man.
gosh, dude! Thank you guys so much. I feel it was a lot of stop and go to get here, so I apologize and thank you for
No,
having
you're
me.
good. You're good. We're live. We're ripping it. So today is FOMC meeting and decision, the rate cuts, which Adrian, we're not gonna put you on the spot too much on that. We know that you make films, you make beautiful art, but
Oh man, thank you.
you're Los Angeles hodl, so you know a little thing or two about Bitcoin. So I think today we're just gonna be casual. We're talk about FOMC, but we're also let's hear a little bit about your story because it's a little bit unique compared to a lot of the finance heavy guys.
Yeah. I was going to quick introduce him. We were just chatting too before. Massive story with Netflix acquisition potentially happening. So we're going to add that for the stock listeners coming in. I think that is interesting. And for the other stock listeners, Adrian's worked I think over 100 television shows, networks like HBO, Disney Plus, another stock, NBC, and as you mentioned, a Bitcoiner as well. So you've had Emmy nominated like storytelling. And so when we've talked at different events, which we met you at a Bitcoin event, excuse me, you were working with our friends over like True North, Tim Kotzman, Ed Jolene, and all the Bitcoin Treasury conferences. So like Jody said, you've been pretty integrated into the space and you're kind of jumping in full force, but I don't want to steal your thunder. So if you want to add to that introduction we got going for you.
No, thank you guys. You're really too kind. I was like a very singular focused person from a very young age. For whatever reason, I saw movies when I was like 13 and I was like, I'm gonna go do that with my life. I didn't know anyone who did it. We lived in the Florida Keys. So I was about as far away from Hollywood, I think, as you can get and still be in the continental United States of America. And of course everyone's like, yeah, you're crazy. And I was like, well, all right, I'll go figure it out. And I did, and it was just like, all the things you just have to put in the hard work and sacrifice and show up early and stay late. And and really give yourself over to the industry and to the craft. And I don't think of myself as an artist, maybe like artistic instincts. I've always felt like I'm a bit more blue collar. Like I've always said a blue collar artist. I felt like that's like a better fit, because I just like to do the hard work. I like to do the heavy lifting. Yeah, Hollywood's changed tremendously, and probably no more.
You got to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, more in the last 3 years than maybe in the previous 70, since television came along and really changed movies. But yeah, we were kind of talking briefly about like what's happening in the industry and why this massive consolidation. Like this is on the president's desk now, and he's tweeting like, I don't know if I'm going to approve this merger, and people are like, 100 billion. I mean, if you step back in the time machine and you go back to the 1890 or 1898, and you show up in Los Angeles like Cecil B. DeMille did when he left New York to go figure out how to make movies, you're going to find a town that has hotels with signs that say, no dogs, no actors. And that was really the world. Actors were looked at as just less than dogs, which is really hilarious. And then you cut 40 years later, now you've got this industry. And but it was like, it comes back to the attention economy. There was a centralization of attention. There was only movies, and so they would crank out 300, 400, 500 movies a year. New movies would come on time. Television comes up all of a sudden. Now there's 3 television channels. ABC, CBS, NBC, and I Love Lucy gets 60 million eyeballs in a night, and Ovaltine can go on there, and that's a really good business model that works really, really well. And you flash forward 50 more years, and all of a sudden you've got a couple thousand television shows, and now movies have morphed from making hundreds of movies to making just a couple dozen, but they're massive experiences in 3D and 4D, and you're getting sprayed with water and the seats are shaking, and this is just how all of the entertainment really evolved over a long period of time. And then all of a sudden you inject the internet into that, and you inject the creator economy. You inject anyone anywhere in the world can be their own television network. Anyone can have millions of eyeballs. That attention economy starts to shrink. It starts to deteriorate. The television model really breaks down. And I think we all saw this in the industry, like, 10 years ago, we were kind of looking at, there was a lot of production companies I was working for that had YouTube divisions, and they were like, how do we do this? Like, how do we break into YouTube? But there was no money there. It wasn't a sustainable business model. It was like people making stuff, and hoping that it would work out. And if you were Mr. Beast, you placed your bets, the right direction. And obviously he worked insanely hard, and the levels of the depth at which he went to identify and break down exactly what made a successful YouTube video was like unparalleled. But different conversation for a different day. We're living in this new world, this new economy, and attention economy. And I think there's huge opportunities, but for certain people like myself, people that came up in a more centralized industry, we're now experiencing like the death of that. And so I have a lot of friends who just are sort of in this limbo of like, is it going to come back? Is it not going to come back? I've spent 25 years doing this thing really, really well and dedicating myself to it. And now I can't do it anymore. What other skills do I have? And it's a very challenging thing. And I think more and more industries are going to experience that with AI over the next couple of years as well, potentially. And, and like I said, I think there's massive opportunity that comes out of that. But you have to be willing to get back out there and figure it out.
I was gonna bring up AI real quick, Jody, but so do you think brands at one stage, like in the past, you had I Love Lucy and everyone's watching that, or Johnny Carson, like my parents would tell me that they'd all sit around the American Dream, around the TV, and you'd capture the attention of the entire world. But now, do you feel like brands are being more efficient now with their ad spend because they can get their certain niches? They don't have to spend maybe billions of dollars or millions of dollars, let's call it, on advertising. There's still the Super Bowl, right? Which still has some allure to it. But shows like ours, even even niche shows that are focused just on stablecoins or some things like that, like they're hitting their direct audience. Maybe they only have a few thousand people coming. But I guess in your conversations with brands, is is it more of like, hey, this technology exists, we have to, work with that technology, or are they actually seeing more efficient ad spend, do you think?
I think what we've kind of experienced, and I think even just what I just described, is like fracturization process. I'm not sure if that's a word, but there's certainly a fracturing and across
Tokenized.
industries.
Yeah.
Tokenization definitely is a big part of that. But you start with these like movies, and then now you've got TV, and then you've got through hundreds of channels, and then thousands, and then millions, and potentially billions of channels once AI comes on. So I think that we're experiencing the same thing in marketing too. Marketing used to be very centralized, and now it's being fractured across a lot of different ways to create attention and to gather attention. One of the more interesting trends I'm seeing recently is like Chick-fil-A just launched their own movie studio, their own content studio. They're going to be making television shows and movies.
Like Red
Dick's
Bull,
Sporting
kinda.
Goods.
Yeah.
Like Red Bull. Yeah. Dick's Sporting Goods. A friend that produced a series for an influencer named I Show Speed, who's one of the bigger ones. But Dick's Sporting Good came in and said, hey, we want to just write you a check for 7 episodes of the show and let you guys go do it. And that was that's a really remarkable thing. It's like, how is that shifting content and marketing is one of the more fascinating lenses to kind of view this like massive transformation through, I think. And there's no real easy answer. There's no one, I guess, mega trend. I think it is just this process of all these small individual trends that are sort of like because of the fracturing nature of what's happening, and some are bigger and some are smaller. Like you said, the Super Bowl still gets 30 million eyeballs. I don't know. I don't know the exact numbers.
I think it's like 10 or 20 million now too. It used to be like the $1 million ad for 30 seconds. And now I think it's closer to 10 or even higher.
I mean, it might be one of the few places left where like everybody looks at, potentially, I don't like, I know a lot of people my age that have never heard of Mr. Beast. And it's like, I have an 11-year-old. So I people in the industry I talked to, maybe this is like last year before the Amazon show came out, but yeah, there's still a lot of people. My wife had never heard of I Show Speed. She had no idea who we were talking about. I'm like, this guy's getting $7 million from Dick's to sponsor his show, to do the stuff he already does. They just want to put their name on it. And she has no clue. Never even heard the name before. So
Adrian, let me pause you right there. Let's get an introduction. Who is Adrian Pruitt? What are you doing at One Big Party for the audience, just to understand where you're coming from, your experience? You're in Hollywood. You're a Bitcoiner. Probably not the common, description of people in Hollywood, but I think that's what makes your perspective very unique.
Thank you. Great time to do it, actually, because I think the reason I'm here is because of the chain of events that I just described. I found myself in a transforming industry. I realized that I didn't feel like the future was in the work I was doing. And so I went through a period of deep depression and 5 months of like, wow, my dreams since I was 13 have they're probably not going to happen the way I thought they were going to happen. The 25 years of work I put in it, probably not net beneficial in the direction that I thought it would be. I'm a member of the Directors Guild of America, Producers Guild of America, 30,000 hours on sets. Not seeing a lot of use for that skill set right now and in the future moving forward. In terms of like making a living, there's a lot of other incredible things that come out of it. But I was like, okay, what are the other things I'm really passionate about? I got into Bitcoin and I'll just say crypto in 2017. I didn't really know what it was. I didn't really desperately need it as, I just thought it was like really important and really cool and really a vision of the future somewhere off in the future. And I just really stuck with it. And I didn't really do the deep dive into Bitcoin until about 2021, 2022. And that's when, right around the time when my kind of like exodus from Hollywood was kind of happening. I don't want to say exodus, it was just more of like an evolution, and through Bitcoin, I started to feel like a lot of hope again. I started to feel like, wow, I actually can have a future. My family can have a future that's not just built on how many hours a day someone's willing to pay me to be away from my family, to do hard work. Like maybe I can have maybe I can actually do the work I've always dreamt of doing and not have to wait for someone to come along and like write me a check. All these gatekeepers, and am I cool enough? Am I pretty enough? Do I have the perfect cover art for my script? Do I have the cool hot young actor signed on from, those things don't matter when you're free. And I felt like Bitcoin was a doorway to step into that can get you there, and it's not going to happen right away, and you got to put in the work and the time, and you got to let time unfold. But that was very beautiful, and then through that I started to feel like, man, maybe I can actually contribute. Like maybe I can be of benefit to Bitcoin and to this network. Maybe I can help bring other people in to this world. Maybe I could be a bridge, and maybe that's what this 25 years of experience gave me. And when I looked around Bitcoin, I just thought there was huge opportunities, because there's so many people making so much amazing stuff, but it's sort of in a bubble a little bit, and it's nobody's fault. It just sort of happened, and I think it kind of evolved that way. And there's still a lot of people in Hollywood that don't get Bitcoin. There's still a lot of my friends and family, and I'm sure you guys experience the same thing. They don't get it, and so it's like, okay, we have a work to do. Like we got work to do. That for someone who's like mission focused a little bit, it's sort of the undercurrent of my thing, is like trying to contribute, trying to find a way to be a benefit to the world. That was really exciting, and that was something I had never felt before. So that's sort of what I've been doing in Bitcoin, is I've been trying to build, I've been trying to push the boundaries wherever I can, and find collaborators and people that share that vision, and take risks and say like, hey, what's not being done, and how can we try different things and see what works. I think my big dream would be to have like a Bitcoin powered production company, production studio that is overseeing like slates of content at different scales, everything from short form, podcasts and things of that nature, all the way up to like prestige films and documentaries that we're taking big shots on, and we're getting them out there to Netflix and Apple, and we're going to big awards, and we're hiring big press teams to come in and write big articles that are going out into like big trusted periodicals, where people that just would never see Bitcoin, and not in this like antagonistic way or this kind of I don't know, salacious sort of way, where it's like we have to like, oh, who's Satoshi in order to like get people to tune in. Great job. I maybe if it got a couple people, it's awesome. It was a very successful documentary, but that's not really what I want to do. I think there are much deeper, much more profound conversations, human conversations that can happen, that don't have to be about the math and the technology, and that can just be about this human experience, this transformational power that Bitcoin has in your life, and do it in a way that is like very familiar to people, that just feels like a movie or a documentary or something that they would see, and maybe they don't even know they're watching a Bitcoin movie, until the very end. And like how magical would that be?
Yeah, no, it's I was thinking in my head, it's like Bitcoin never, the saying is like Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing department, but like you were kind of alluding to, like maybe you're becoming that marketing department. You are kind of becoming the Steven Spielberg, if you will, of Bitcoin media, working with a lot of the big events and big companies right now. So it's exciting to see. You're very humble. You're super educated in the space.
Thank you.
One we talked about AI. I kind of want to just come back to it too, because as the Screen Actors Guild writer strike, right? That happened a few years ago. I think it made headlines, but talking to my friends, I was reading the headlines and I still was like, I don't think I know enough about this. But as I dug into it more, it kind of brought up this concept of like, hey, is my voice, is my likeness going to be AI? If I have enough content out there, do these guys, I think the old contracts said they could technically use their likeness. And so they don't even need to almost pay the actors anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong here. And same with music too, right? Like it was like you can use their voice. Right before this, we were just playing AI music. That was 1960s rap music, right? That I think it's amazing, and it sounds really cool, and it's exciting what it can do. But it comes back to like, hey, you guys are professionals in the space. You can't just have 4 or 5 companies making all the money, and actors now are homeless and have no jobs, right? So what was your take on it? Just being, in LA, having friends, you yourself being in the space. What was that like?
Well, first of all, I'll say it's incredibly humbling to be even have my name anywhere near Steven Spielberg's. But I would say probably more like the Steven Spielberg
Okay.
if anything. But yeah, this is this is the most important conversation of our time, and there's no real easy answer. There's no real easy solution. How do you stop the march of progress? I watched it in a video last night, and it was like a guy it was a New York Times op-ed, and it was like a video, and he was saying like, this is what, and maybe Peter Thiel's talking about this, so I'm not sure, but it's like, this is what has been talked about in Revelations. Like, this is it, this Christ-like person will come along and be a peace on earth, and it will solve all of our things, but really it's and that whole narrative. And I'm not deeply religious, so I apologize if I got in that wrong. I'm just quickly watching, and I was going like, I don't know, I just saw like my cousin who like had this incredible like revolutionary new a surgical technique that saved her life, and driving home in a car that's like 20 times safer than the one my grandfather drove in, because the steering wheel doesn't like impale you through the your chest if you hit somebody. It's like we come home to a content library of every single movie or relevant as important movie or television show made in the last 100 years that we can like pick from. Or we're learning about chess, and everybody just I don't know. It's really tricky. How much do we hand over? How much do we require? Where do we fit? If this technology is evolving 10 times faster than we are, then like we start to it starts that relationship with us like we have with trees, and that's a very tricky relationship to kind of manage and to understand. And I think there's going to be a lot of fear. I think that I'm a bit of a techno enthusiast. I don't necessarily think like all technology is good and all of it is like, there's certainly like social media, I would say, is like very detrimental. I see our 11-year-old son, and he's totally hooked on Roblox every day. It's been the most contentious thing in our house for the last 4
Did
years.
you steal your credit card yet and start buying crazy stories?
Oh my God, is that coming? Oh no.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like we need to make sure that we're like paying attention and stuff. But I'm also a bit of a libertarian, say like that's like our responsibility. Like we have to be better parents. We have to educate, we have to teach, we have to say like, yeah, these things exist and they can go that way and they can go that way, and do the best we can. Hollywood, if I'm being honest, and this will probably be one you can clip and share, and I'll get, my house egg, but Hollywood has been wildly inefficient for so long. I think so many jobs exist because of inefficiencies. It's like the bureaucracy of the whole thing. It's a bummer. It's a bummer when you're a creative person and you go, I just did a job, and I won't mention the name, but it's a big show that's been on TV for many, many, many years, and one of the last big shows that maybe shoots in LA now. And I love it. I love seeing all the wonderful people and all these friends, and I love seeing all these people employed. But I'm also looking around, I'm like, do we need like those like 300 people to like stand there while there's like 7 of us doing this thing here, and it's like that's what I think technology does, right? It like roots out inefficiencies, and Hollywood is a very inefficient system, and so was ripe for upheaval, and it's going to be a complicated and difficult process for everyone to like figure out what that looks like. I mean, how do you compete with China? Like we could say, okay, no more, we're not using any more AI video. We're not doing it anymore. You're not allowed to touch it. And it's like, is that going to stop 6 billion more people everywhere else in the world from like using this stuff and advancing it forward? If you can't get them to stop, like what do we do? So it's like, I think the best is to like, I've tried to embrace it and be ethical, as responsible as we can, and make ethical choices with the work I'm doing and how I'm doing it. But it's really challenging, man. I don't know if I'm sorry, that's like a non-answer.
No.
Answer,
What was the net result real quick though, too? Like what was this? I don't know if they settled on, you can or can't use actors' voices, or what was the situation there? Because from an investor standpoint, I'm thinking like, all right, are these companies like, super efficient now? They don't have to go out and hire all these actors. Should people be investing in in Hollywood companies, or
Mm.
is it the inverse where it's like there's going to be such distribution that, you know, these companies are going to lose market share?
You know, the rules that were put in place are there to definitely protect like the actors and like the individuals, like likeness, voice, and things like that. So there's a lot of safeties and protocols that are put in place. So they can't just, and you know, one of the tricky things is like, hey, what if we just want to replace this like football stadium shot, like instead of having to go and get 500 extras and then
Or Batman, because
populate it.
didn't what's blanking on his name now, but he like passed away before it was finished filming. Like, could they have continued the film, you know, and used enough of that data to make him act in AI, you know, in a sense?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And there are a lot of isolated things. Overall, you know, the guilds of which I'm a part of, several, are doing their best to protect the workers and the laborers and the people that feed their families in the industry. The producers, the people that make the money, the studio heads and things, they're doing their best to maximize efficiency and to drive up the stock, the price of their stock. What we were talking about before we jumped on, I think is kind of relevant to this conversation, is like, where is it going? Why is Netflix putting, you know, willing to try to buy Warner Brothers for $70 billion? Why is Paramount willing to come back and counter that offer, go straight to shareholders, a hostile takeover for $100 billion? Why are we doing, like, why are we seeing these kind of numbers thrown around? And then I think you have to look at the content library. Like, what are they buying? They're getting Harry Potter. They're getting Batman.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting.
Yeah, I guess let's jump ahead. Like,
Yeah.
what's your quick take on the Netflix Warner Brothers point? Why it's on the like president's desk, you know, or Larry Ellison, you know, billionaire that owns a Hawaiian island, care enough to go out and say, hey, you know, President Trump, this is going to ruin competition in the industry. Yeah, is this a surprise to you, or do you see this coming?
No, I mean, I think it. To me, it's pretty clear. And my lens is through like the creator, you know, and not so much like the investor. And so I couldn't unpack, you know, like any of this stuff on a strategic level in terms of like making money. But I think you just like, where is it all going? Well, you know, if you flash forward 3 years or 4 years, I think there's a world, and I'm probably wrong with my time frame, but I just see a world where I can drop in to the world of Harry Potter, and maybe that world knows me and knows who I am in real life, not as an avatar, but as me. I can go there, and maybe it's a video game, or maybe it's a movie, or maybe it's a hybrid experience where it sort of starts as a video game and
or
then
create your own
turns into a
journey.
movie.
I remember
And-
Animorphs
yeah.
book where you can like
Yeah.
jump to this page if you wanted to, like this ending type of ending. So alternate endings
Exactly.
in videos could be pretty wild.
And there's so many other things I can't even wrap my head around. But I think in like IP isn't like Mickey Mouse is still as valuable today as it was, you know, back then. And yes, they had to buy Pixar and they had to buy Lucas and they had to consolidate and they had to add. But you know, Mickey Mouse is still extremely valuable. I just think we're going to have the same thing with Harry Potter, with Batman, with the DC, like a lot of these iconic things. And so the IP opens up the world of content, and the AI experience of that content will forever transform the equipment. I think there's still some major revolutionary new way that we interact with content that's coming. I don't know what that is. Who knows? You know, I think there's going to be some potentially iPhone moment with like how we watch stuff and experience things a little bit. But you know, that's for other people to probably speculate on as well. I definitely, I'm like the values in the, why else would you do it? Why else would you want to pay $100 billion for a studio that is probably making three? You know, and it's because you have to be investing in where the world's going to be 5 years from now, if not longer. And like I can already generate 30-second videos that are almost photorealistic in a matter of seconds on my
that's crazy
laptop. Where is it if we're 10xing every 6 months? Where is it going to be in 18 months? Where are we at in 36 months? And how does that impact the experience and the immersiveness of stuff. So yeah, I think the IP is a very big deal. I think it's the final frontier
Do you
of
think
Hollywood.
Do you think people give a lot of criticism because there's so many remakes? There's so many recycled of just, hey, here's a new Batman, or here's a new cartoon,
No.
a new Little Mermaid. Is it just that you would think with AI that you would totally bet on, hey, let's cheaply make net new IP? But do you also feel like when there was Harry Potter, I don't know, is it $8, $7, $8? Like, it's original creative content, and they already has such a big name that it's so hard to, with so much like AI slop, it's hard to stand out. So like they already have such a big lead in like recognition with parents that want to go out and buy stuff, or like Star Wars franchise, obviously they keep spinning stuff off of that. You think you could use AI to create a new space odyssey, but I'm guessing it's just too hard to get that scale of mindshare.
This is a profound sort of conversation in a sense, because it taps into like, where does it all come from? J.K. Rowling was a single mom, living on the dole in Scotland, writing Harry Potter before she would go to work in the mornings in a cafe. And she said they just appeared to her, like in her mind, like these characters and saying this. And, our son was obsessed with Harry Potter. I mean, just can't, tons of other stuff as well. Obsessed with Harry Potter, obsessed. Star Wars, I'm still obsessed with Star Wars. I don't care how many bad TV shows they come out with on Disney, Oh, Andor was phenomenal, but where does it come from? Andor was amazing. Where does it all come from? We don't know. I think that this is probably the human component to the AI will never quite probably go away. Is like, we need that soul. There's something about the human experience that it's very important for there to be an author. I just don't know if creatively we're just going to hand off all creative stuff to AI. I don't see that. I don't even know if that world sounds very interesting to me, at least, but are we having simulated experiences 20 years from now, where we're just like, we can spend 10 years like immersed in a world and like come out of it like Rick and Morty style. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just what
that's not too far fetched, which is why I'm saying that, like, this world it's wild.
And for me, if I had to pick today, it would be like Batman, right? Like, put me in Batman. I know Batman. He knows me. He knows, I get to hang out and I get to be a part of these adventures. And oh no, here's the Joker. He's gotten out, and Heath Ledger's Joker. I want to be in the Dark Knight, right? Like if I can go to a place. So yeah, that probably is a bit of a rabbit hole, only because I don't know if I have all of the answers. I just am always sort of like speculating and trying to push my chips in that direction, some ways creatively or otherwise, or at least like pay attention,
Should we move to rapid fire questions, Jodes, or was there anything else you had? Cool. All right, so this is something new. Midweek Markets, you're the second guest. First guest was about an hour ago, where we do expand a little bit outside of Bitcoin and take a look at the macro and everything. So coming back to Netflix, though, you've worked at giants, for in 5 years. Do you think Netflix ultimately is going to stick around, or do you think there's going to be more spinoffs and different things that happen, and Netflix will face its blockbuster moment themselves at some point?
I think if Netflix can get their hands on Warner Brothers, then they're not going to have any problems. I think they think that too, because I think it's the IP that matters most.
Yeah. You want me to keep ripping them, Jody?
I'll go next.
Okay.
What's gonna make Bitcoin cool in Hollywood? Like, what's gonna make the average person not see it as like a scam, grift, or corporate, a corporate institutional asset?
We need that Rudy story. We need that human connection where everybody can get behind and root for it, and root for Bitcoin, and get past all the politics and get past all of the preconceived notions, and get away from like the technology itself, like actually the human impact. And that's super exciting because there's infinite opportunities right now to be able to tell those stories. So
I think this is a story within itself. We tweeted this out earlier today.
wow.
Just looking at the inflation, right? And what a house cost in 95, not that long ago, to 2025, or 2055, so this is pretty crazy. So that's a story that people, I think, feel right now. You're seeing it. I live, in New York area, but, we see with Mamdani, Miami just happened. There was another, I don't know if she called herself a socialist, but like you're starting to see it because people are feeling the pain, and these corporations are getting very, very wealthy, and people are struggling to pay bills, and so it is interesting timing. Next question is around the Super Bowl. We brought that up as well. FTX had a famous Super Bowl commercial that didn't really turn out so well. Actors and athletes, people got taken down. Do you think we'll see another one either this year, or do you think it's gonna wait a few more years till you see, Coinbase, I guess, had theirs last year as well. So do you think we'll see more Bitcoin ads in the Super Bowl this year?
I hope so. I mean, I think it's secular with the industry itself, and as Bitcoin starts to, go on a tear, and people are able to loosen up the marketing purse strings, I think we'll definitely start to see, because it's really, really important to get that eyeballs. But I was going to mention the Coinbase ads because I just think like some of those commercials are like objectively some of the best ads in years. So yeah.
Speaking of ads, this is brought to you by Magic Mind. So actually don't pay us any money. We just buy it as a company to keep Avi focused because he is super ADD.
I told him, I said, we don't even want money. I truly just send
we don't get money. So check out
so that is a thank you, Jody. Now they'll send us more. But
order some of that right now.
It actually is amazing. I used to take Adderall when I was younger, and I realized that I want to live, a decently long life. And so I don't know, but my heart used to get like pains, and I was like, I need to find something else that would be better for me and more natural. So, not health advice for those listening, I guess. Prediction. We talked about AI generated films. So what happens first? An AI generated film wins an Oscar, or Bitcoin hits, call it 300,000.
I think we're a long way away from an AI film winning an Oscar. At least maybe not in the shorts category or one other like smaller category, but in terms of it being accepted by the Academy and by like the industry itself, I think 300K Bitcoin for sure. Yeah. Cool. Hey, we can be like 2 months away from 300K. Like, what are we talking about here?
Moth's prediction gets us there in 20 days or so.
I mean, it has happened. That's the scary and exciting part. Is like maybe not quite that quick, but 2018 or 17, we just like ripped like crazy.
Yeah.
So
10K a day. What's your Bitcoin personal finance tip? So we have a site that does Bitcoin personal finance. We try to get it good. Takes, reviews, everything. What is Adrian's like? Hey man, like I just get people in Cash App, or I go straight to setting them up on a gold card.
Man, I'll be honest with you. I love Strike. I love the Strike wallet. I love what Jack's done with it. I know it's contentious, and people are like, "Oh, and you're gonna have to pay interest." Like, dude, at his core, I think he has nothing but the best intentions, and they are working so hard. They even have set it up so you can use Strike to pay all of your bills, pay your credit card. You run up the bills on a credit card, then you use Strike and then it does all the math for you. So at the end of the year, you get your taxes, and it's handled all of those in and out. Like that took a long time for him to set up, and people just don't really, I try to turn people on to Strike because it's like, it also, now you've got your saving technology. You can also use it, as a way to pay your ACH, to be able to handle payments and stuff. And then you can lend against your Bitcoin if you want to without having to sell it. So Strike, that's my pro tip.
That's good. It's a good answer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Adrian, anything you want to leave, any lasting words for, the Bitcoiners that are listening? That is the core of our show. So in terms of like the optimistic outlet, I think the past year and a half, 2 years now with the ETFs, Treasury companies, you see Bank of America, Charles Schwab just said they're going to get involved next year. So like it's happening, but how do we almost maintain, if that's the right way to do it, like the OG Bitcoin philosophy of decentralization, own your sovereignty, or, and it's totally fine. We bring on institutions all the time because I think it's going to be a part of it. Or do you think it's going to move the direction, like the overall theme is going to be, hey, Bitcoin's owned by corporations, nation states, and we're back to serfdom again in a couple of years. So how do we maintain like this optimistic view in your storytelling mastermind there?
Man, after going through what I went through in the last, few years and everything in the nature of my career, I think we have to understand that like times they are changing all the time, and I know that sounds kind of, cliche but it's really important to just like embrace the reality of like what's happening, these trends, these macro trends. You know, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, there's going to be good stuff, there's going to be bad stuff, but I think Bitcoin's inevitable. I really do. I just, that's my personal feeling. I think it's the apex asset. I think it eats everything out, whether that happens in the next 12 months or whether that takes the next 12 years. I think that inevitably, as you guys know, what they say, it's like everybody ends up bending their knee to Bitcoin. And so, I think we're all allowed to have our personal feelings about what's good and what's bad and what's, but at the end of the day, I think we just have to, just accept that things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. We don't have a lot of control over it. And, it's good to be constructive and to try to be supportive, even if maybe it doesn't like align with your exact view on things. And like, this is right for AI and a movie maker. Like I have an AI little commercial studio I started a few months ago, and we're helping brands. We're using AI, using it every day. I got so much hate from people. How could you do this? Like, look, I enjoy it. It's fun. I think it's the direction things are going in, and it's important for me to feel productive and to create and to be a part of things. So, I think sometimes it's important to let go of the personal politics and to be so hard line with stuff and say, it's not all good, it's not all bad, but it is happening the way it's happening, and we're probably not going to stop it. The last thing I would say is, I've got my strategy hat on here. I am a bit partial, shall we say, but there's that great line from Alexander. I would rather have an army of sheep led by a lion than an army of lions led by a sheep. And so if Michael Saylor is our kind of lion and we are all just sort of sheep, like I'm like we're doing all right, like we're doing all right, and that's a really cool thing. So I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are going to hate me for saying that, but dude, it's great. I love everything that's happening.
Gotta have your conviction, man.
Yeah. Will you be at Strategy World in Las Vegas?
Oh, heck yeah. I already bought my ticket. So I'll be there.
drive.
We might be filming. We were there filming the doc. I'm
Yeah.
doing a big documentary about the rise of the Bitcoin Treasury company. So we were there filming last year. I don't know if we're gonna be filming it up, but hopefully, and otherwise, if I'm not, I'll be there regardless.
Can we get a date out of you for when that doc? Because we were right walking by it. So is it?
I'm in some back shots. I'm
2026?
I'm in the scene for a few.
I tried to walk by a few times for sure.
What I tell people is like, if you get to the end of the film and the hero has to fight the dragon and he's not doing it with like the paper shield and the paper sword, like when he slays the dragon, it's not really that important. If he goes in with like a bazooka and shoots the dragon once and the dragon goes down, like what was the point? A great story. You've got to feel the hopelessness of the situation at times. And so I think we're experiencing a lot of those ups and downs, and I just want to, we all have our conviction about where this story is going to end, and so I'm not worried about the ending. It's this like the exciting stuff is the stuff that happens between now and then. So I don't know, I'm hoping we're a couple of years away. The story has transformed a little bit, since True North and Jeff and obviously he's having an incredible, strive, and some of the other, sort of like key members have created their own things, and it's awesome because everybody's building. But it did shape the dynamic of the documentary a little bit. At least that one specific sort of part of the story. And so it's been a little bit of like, we've kind of taken a little bit of a step back and said, okay, yeah, we want to do this right, and we want to be honest, and we want to make sure it's like of importance. So being patient with documentaries is the most important thing. So
And you mentioned we have another Adrian coming on, Adrian Morris on Friday. So part of the OG.
Yeah. He just messaged me this morning. Yeah. I love Adrian Morris. He's amazing.
Man. Well, Adrian, thank you so much for hopping on. This has been amazingly fun. Every time we talk, it's just like, we don't necessarily even need to talk Bitcoin. You just have such a prolific mind, and really cool what you guys are doing.
No. Thank you guys so much. Like, you guys are the best, and thank you for all your hard work. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do something in February, Strategy World. So.
Heck yeah. You'll put you on camera this time for sure. Even if it's my iPhone, we'll get something.
Just for your family or whatever. No, thanks so much for coming on again, man. And for those watching, we're coming up here 10 minutes about. We're bringing on two guys from hedge funds to talk about FOMC. So stay tuned. And they're already popping on here. So thanks again, Adrian, and everyone else. Stay tuned for 11 more minutes.
Yeah, later, guys. Bye.
See you, Adrian.
Let's take them back. Yeah, let's take them back. My mommy kissing a girl. Confusion occurs coming up in the cold world. Daddy ain't around, probably out committing felonies. My favorite rapper used to sing, check out my melody. I wanna live good, so shit, I sell dope for a 4-finger ring, one of them gold ropes. Nana told me if I pass, I'd get a sheepskin coat. If I can move a few packs, I'd get the hat. Now that'd be dope. Tossed and turned in my sleep that night. Woke up the next morning, niggas that stole my bike. Different day, same shit. Ain't nothing good in the hood. I'd run away from this bitch and never come back if I could. Hate it, I love it. The underdogs on top, and I'm gonna shine on it until my heart stops. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. You know me. Hate it, love it. The underdogs on top, and I'm gonna shine on it. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. You know me. On the grill of my low rider, guns on both sides. Right above the gold wires, I'll 4-5, I'm kill a nigga on my song and really do it. That's the true meaning of a ghost rider. 10 G's will take your daughter out of Air Forces. Believe me, homie, I know all about losses. I'm from Compton where the wrong colors be cautious. One phone call, I'll have your body dumped in Marcy. I stay strapped like car seats. Been banging since my little nigga Rob got killed for his Barclays. That's 10 years, I told Pooh in 95. I'll kill you if you try me for my Air Max 95. Told Banks when I met him, I'm a ride. And if I gotta die, I'd rather homicide. I ain't had 50 when my grandmama died. Now I'm going back to Cali with my Jacob on, see how time flies. Hate it, I love it, the underdogs on top, and I'm gonna shine, homie. Yeah. Stop. Go ahead, envy me. I'm Raps MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. Get to know me. Hate it, I love it.
From the beginning to the end, losers lose, winners win. This is real, we ain't got to pretend. The cold world that we in is full of pressure and pain. I thought it would change to stay in the same. How many of them boys is with you? When you had that little TV, you had to hit on to get a picture. I'm walking with a snub, cause niggas do a lot of slick talking. In the club till they coughing on the rug. Ain't never had much but a Walkman and a bud. My role model is gone, snorting up his drug. Bad enough they want me to choke. My boy just got poked in the throat. Now it's an RIP shirt in my coat. Now I'm speeding, reminiscing, holding my weed and never listen. If I see him, I'ma lift him, and maybe that'll even the scope. But if not, it'll be me on the floor. Hate it or love it, the underdogs on top, and I'm gonna shine on me. Yeah, go ahead MVP. I'm Raps MVP. I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to nowhere, so you can get to know me. Hate it or love it, the underdogs on top, and I'm gonna shine on me. Yeah, go ahead and MVP. I'm Raps MVP. I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. Whoa. From the beginning to the end, losers lose, winners win. This is real, we ain't got to pretend. The cold world that we in is full of pressure and pain. Nigga, now listen to game. Used to see 5-0, throw the crack by the bench. Now I'm fucking with 5-0. It's all start to make sense. My mom's happy she ain't gotta pay the rent. And she got a red bow on that brand new Benz. Waiting on Shy Money to lane, sitting in the rain, thinking how they spent $30 million on airplanes. When this kid's starving, pack is gone and Brenda still throwing babies in the garbage. I wanna know what's going on like I hear Marvin. No school books, they use that wood to build coffins. Whenever I'm in the booth and I get exhausted, I think, what if Marie Baker got that abortion? I love you, man. Hate it or love it, the underdogs on top, and I'm gon' shine on it. Go ahead MVP. I'm Raps MVP. I ain't gon' nowhere, so you can get to know it, so you can get to know me.
Yes. Who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Na 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 na. I've created a monster, 'cause nobody wants to see Marshall no more. They want Shady, I'm chopped liver. Well, if you want Shady, this is what I give you. A little bit of me mixed with some hard liquor, some vodka that'll jumpstart my heart quicker than a shock when I get shot at the hospital by the doctor when I'm not cooperating. When I'm rocking the table while he's operating. Hey, you waited this long to stop debating, 'cause I'm back, I'm on the. I know that you got a job, Miss Cheney, but your husband's heart problems complicating, so the FCC won't let me be, or let me be me, so let me see. They try to shut me down on MTV, but it feels so empty without me. So come on, dip, bum on your lips, jump back, jiggle the hip, and wiggle a bit and get ready, 'cause this is about to get heavy. I just settled all my lawsuits, F you, Debbie. Now this look like a job for me, so everybody just follow me, 'cause we need a little controversy, 'cause it feels so empty without me. This look like a job for me, so everybody just follow me, 'cause we need a little controversy, 'cause it feels so empty without me. A little little hellions, kids feeling rebellious, embarrassed that parents still listen to Elvis. They start feeling like prisoners, helpless, till someone comes along on a mission and yells, bitch! A visionary vision is scary. Could start a revolution, polluting the airwaves, a rebel. So just let me revel and bask in the fact that I got everyone kissing my ass. And it's a disaster, such a catastrophe for you to see so damn much of my ass. You asked for me, well, I'm back. Na 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 na. Fix your bend antenna, tune it in, and then I'm gonna enter in up under your nails like a splinter. The center of attention, back for the winner. I'm interested in the best thing since wrestling, investing in your kids' ears and nesting, testing. Attention, please feel the tension. Soon as someone mentions me, here's my 10 cents. My 2 cents is free, a nuisance. Who sent you sent for me? Now this looks like a job for me. So everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me. This looks like a job for me. So everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me. A tisket, a tasket, I go tit for tat with anybody who's talking this and that. Chris Kirkpatrick, you can get your ass kicked worse than them little Limp Bizkit bastards. And Moby, you could get stomped by Obi. You 36-year-old bald-headed me, you don't know me, you're too old, let go, it's over. Nobody listens to techno, now let's go, just give me the signal. I'll be there with a whole list full of new insults. I've been dope to stencil forward a pencil ever since Prince turned himself into a symbol. But sometimes, man, it just seems everybody only wants to discuss me. So this must mean I'm disgusting, but it's just me, I'm just obscene. Yeah. Though I'm not the first king of controversy, I am the worst thing since Elvis Presley to do black music so selfishly and use it to get myself wealthy. Hey. There's a concept that works, 20 million other white rappers emerge, but no matter how many fish in the sea, it'll be so empty without me. Now this looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me. This looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me.
We'll let it play out here just because I love these AI remix, but gonna kick it back to my old intro. So ladies and gentlemen, for those that used to listen to PTT, we are back talking stocks today. So I'm very excited why we created the Midweek Markets show, because I was like, I love Bitcoin, but there's a little bit bigger area that we can get into, and it's intertwining quite a bit. So very excited to have Ryan Park, big Ryan Park. He's very tall if you guys don't know him, but he's going to be our guest co-host today alongside Chris Muro and David Rosenblum. So very excited to have you guys on the show. David, we've been talking for a while. So finally we're able to put this together, and what a day. We didn't plan for it to be on FOMC, but here we are. So first and foremost, Ryan, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll go around the horn and we'll jump right into what's happening, what we're seeing in the markets.
Guys, what's going on? I'll make it quick because we got a rate cut decision that just came in and we got to jump right to it. I'm Ryan Park. I'm a advisor to 21 Rates, a longtime Web3 crypto, specifically Bitcoin guy, retail trader, not as sophisticated as you two gentlemen. So I'm super excited to ask you guys some questions today, learn from you, and have some fun.
Yeah, so just came in at 25. So poly market is correct once again. Markets were flat right before this, but David, Chris, who wants to kick it off just with the intro? David, why don't I'll lead it here. Go ahead.
What'd you say? Want me to?
Yeah, quickly introduce yourself. Talk about your fund from like a very high level, just so people have a background that you guys are professionals here. So we're bringing the gurus in to get their opinions.
Sure. So, I'm David Rosenblum. We have 2 separate funds, both income generating strategies using options. Because it's a crypto conversation today, we'll only talk about that fund. It's called RS Crypto Income Fund. So I'm sure as we talk more on this, we'll see the different sides of the Bitcoin universe, we care a lot more about the options and the volatility in there than necessarily the fundamentals, or if Bitcoin's going up or down on a given day. We just use those options to extract income. We want Bitcoin to exist. If it has volatility and it goes down, not necessarily bad for us. If it goes up, great. But then, you're fighting everyone that thinks Bitcoin's going to 1 million and don't care about the lower risk strategies that just generate income in all market environments.
And Chris?
Hey, gentlemen. First off, thanks for having me on. It's a good day to do this with the rate cut. I mean, I was hoping they'd be a little more aggressive. I was looking for a little more activity on my other screens over here, but it is what it is, and I'll take it. So background, started trading in 98, firm called Broadway Trading, equity shop for the most part, a little bit of options. And that was the Wild West, right? I mean, those were the days where, you'd walk in, things would gap up, gap down. Things were pretty crazy. And trading was a little bit different back then. You'd look at your screen, it would say GSCO, MERL for Merrill. They would basically show you their whole book of the day, their buys, their sells. It was, it was pretty much, we had an edge back then when it came to trading, not like today, right? Everything's hidden. Everything's a little more, a little behind the scenes. But, started in 98 as an equity trader. Through the years, as technology continued to get better, our risk started to expand, margins and profits started to shrink. So I had shifted gears a little bit, and I had kind of segued into kind of wealth management and insurance and stuff of that nature. Fast forward to today, I'm the CEO and founder of MyTermLife.ai, primarily, a life insurance company. However, we've got a huge wealth management division through Fidelity. My office here, South Florida, we manage about $1.6 billion. And, we're really well diversified: equities, options, futures, bonds. Some of the guys do some Bitcoin. A lot of it is ETFs and other stuff, a little more stablecoin. They're getting in their hands and everything. So the Bitcoin stuff to me, kind of to just jump right in, everything today to me is about momentum, right? That's where, if you see me glancing to the right, that's where my screens are. And I keep kind of just checking, making sure everything's, everything's got to be
allowed
okay
today.
here.
You guys can look.
Listen, from my first day in the industry and the business to where I am now, it's all momentum. It's all charts. So you talk about Bitcoin, right? I mean, some people think it's going to 1 million. Some people say it's worthless. And I always say it's the buyers and sellers that are on my screen. And that's really what it comes down to. As long as there's activity and there's interest, things are going to move up. Things are going to move down. I mean, the fundamentals will always constantly change. But look, man, you guys saw back in April. I mean, I remember, we looking at some of the tariff stuff that was going on, and, all of a sudden things evaporated in front of our eyes. And then with one little tweet, one little news announcement, it was almost back to the days of the Greenspan, Fed cuts in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden the markets would rally. Like, that's what it felt like. And, that's kind of where we are today. I mean, I'll let you guys drive the bus with some questions, some other stuff, but just, man, just look at charts and I'm just, I love it.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point of just like the changing dynamics of the markets, right? Like Twitter didn't exist. Now that's where I go for my information. There's nothing like the speed of, of Twitter. I don't have the fast news that you guys may get on the Bloomberg to get the tick by tick here, but like, people are pretty on top of this. There's a lot of different, influencers, finfluencers. So you got to watch out for, the fake guys out there. That's why we bring in the experts here, of course. But so FOMC, it just happened, 25 basis points. David, I'll kick it over to you, but Chris, let me restart that. David, I was correct. David, I'll kick it over to you in terms of what's your reaction? Is this what you're expecting? Now we have Polymarket to kind of predict the future for us, but what are your thoughts? And where do you think we go from here?
Yeah, from nothing to do with Bitcoin on this answer, but it's what I expected. I actually was saying earlier to my partner, I kind of felt like Powell had to do 25. If he does nothing, then he becomes even more lame duck. Trump comes out and says whatever he's going to say. It focuses more on who the next one is. If he's not going to do 50, right? I mean, he just seeing with what he's done, and he was so slow to doing anything. So I think he was there was no real other choice. I didn't even look at Polymarket. To me, it was just like, I don't see how, from a common sense standpoint, he could do anything but 25 this time.
Mm. David, or Chris? Yeah, sorry. The names are confusing me because David's on the right.
Yeah, I see it as
Chris. It's all good, man. But listen, like David said, I was anticipating a quarter. Anything beyond that would have been shocking, and I think the market would have raged, and Powell was not going to let that happen today. That was not going to happen. I mean, it's been like pulling teeth to get this guy to say anything favorable about a rate cut. And it doesn't matter which side you're on, whether you believe it or not. But I mean, look, you had a few. I think you had 4 other officials. They see at least 3/4 point cuts for 2026. And I'm just looking at my notes here. 7 officials penciled in no rate cuts for 2026. So this pendulum is going to continue to swing. There's going to be no clear-cut direction going forward. I think it's going to be really just fighting and clawing and grinding just to get anything out of these guys. But look, man, we're here to talk about the markets, right? And you saw yesterday some news trickling out about Tesla and SpaceX and all these different things. And now Musk is talking about a T, a valuation with a T in front of maybe going public with SpaceX and, the private equity markets, all these pre-IPOs, all these companies that have been on the sidelines that are not AI-based have been stuck in the mud because of rates, right? I mean, a lot of these companies, they raised money at really, really high valuations in 2020, 2021, even 2022. And then when rates exploded, all of a sudden, now their borrowing cost went through the roof. So now their valuations, their cash flow, everything these guys were doing kind of slowed down a lot. And now it's like the chicken or the egg, whichever comes first. I mean, are some of these companies going to get a chance to come public that are not AI companies, or are rates going to come down where they could start borrowing money and reinvesting back into the business again and kind of get back into the pipeline? But I think yesterday, the SpaceX, talking about maybe $1 trillion IPO makes me happy because I just want things to get back into the right direction, on that market too.
Yeah, David, any thoughts? I know you're more on the vol side, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, to me, I think a lot will come out at the Q&A at 2:30. I'm sure people ask about buying treasuries and whether you want to call it another QE or something like that. I mean, a lot of what we've seen in the moves in Bitcoin, whether sometimes it's correlated to the NASDAQ, just more levered, but over time, it's really tied to money supply. So I think a lot of it will be of what's going to be there.
So that's a perfect segue to a question that I had for both of you as well. So, we're about 19 minutes away here from hearing some remarks from the glorious Jerome Powell. So my question for both of you is what, there seems to have been consensus on the 25 basis point cut, but there isn't consensus on what he's going to say. There isn't consensus on how hawkish his tone, if at all hawkish his tone will be. So the question I have for both of you, we'll start with David first. What is the one sentence or phrase that you're listening to from him today that would actually make you change your book immediately?
So I don't think he's going to be ultra hawkish. I want to just hear what he says about, what they're going to do with treasuries. But I kind of feel like, they're not political, but in terms of it's no secret, right? We're going to have a new Fed chair. If it is Hassett, he's made it clear how he feels about rate cuts. So I'm not surprised by what Chris said coming along the tape about, 3 rate cuts next year or 75 basis points next year. To me, it's really just what's going to happen with money supply and however he talks about it. But I think what I would listen to, whether he says money supply or he says, we're going to be buying treasuries or slowing down the tapering, whatever it is, that part of it. But, big picture, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but I think Chris had said a little earlier, just the dynamic differences. I'm a little younger than Chris in terms of I started in 2002 on the floor of the Amex as an options market maker. But you've seen a lot of retail and, what was the GameStop movie? They called it dumb money. There's plenty of not dumb money, but there's a lot of dumb money. And what happened over the last 6 weeks, watching Bitcoin go from 125 down to 80, I do think a lot of people puking it. Look, it's no different than text messages I was getting from non-finance people in April. Literally, I was at dinner the Tuesday before the next day when Trump came out and said whatever and the market started ripping, from people saying, should I lower my allocation in my 401k? It's dumb money. It's never different. I think that, the move from 125 down to 105 don't have strong opinions on that. But that 105 down to 80, I think, was chasing people out of the market. The same people that were saying Bitcoin's going to $1 million next year, why would I invest in your fund that's averaging, 2.5% a month, for your investors? Like, I think Bitcoin's going to $1 million. I was like, if you think Bitcoin's going to $1 million, buy it, right? But I think the last 15% was really getting rid of that froth. And now looking forward, you've got what I think will be an increase in money supply. However many trillions of dollars of assets between all the institutions now that said they'll allow crypto purchasing and stuff like that. And you still do have a finite supply. So I'm actually, I say it all the time, even though I run a crypto oriented fund, I'm not necessarily bullish on crypto directionally, where I think it's going to 250 or 500 next year. I'm bullish on its existence more than anything. But when you are going supply and demand, supply is not changing, demand is increasing because of a lot of things.
Yeah, and this was like the first, probably not the first, but this was kind of like a blind one, right? Where in terms of they didn't have the jobs report, they had ADP that came out. Do you guys give much? And I know we used to say like jobs reports don't matter anymore. They changed them a couple of weeks later always, and but AI is no secret anymore to anyone, and you are seeing corporations cut. What for the novice investor, like, is that typically the stocks go up, because the expenses are coming off the books and you're able to be more efficient. How do you guys see this like playing out, given that the jobs report from the official one, I guess is not out yet, but ADP does give you some sort of lean, of course, right?
Yeah. So the ADP number came out, and I think most of us interpret it as things are slowing down, right? I mean, any way you cut it, data is data. And to be fully transparent, I'm not one of the guys that gets into all the data. Look, I look at the numbers, right? I'm a momentum guy. I look at what's actually happening in front of me, right? And I go back to the election until now. It's been a momentum train. And it doesn't matter whether you've been in Palantir, you've been in crypto, it doesn't make a difference. Things have been making outrageous moves to the upside, but outrageous moves to the upside also give us tremendous pullbacks too, and really short, violent trading days, right? So, and you talk about the dumb money and you go back to like GameStop. I'll just use Palantir because I was an early investor in Palantir even before they went public. And that was almost like a crypto, like a very painful trade. I mean, there were these huge expectations when they were getting ready to go public. Then they decided, hey, we're not going to get an investment banker. We're just going to go public to the market. They went public and the thing just kind of stalled at like $10 and just sat there. And then it finally went up. And then, you had guys like Karp talking about, we're going to take our assets and we're going to invest into SPACs. I almost threw up. I'm like, SPACs? I'm like, this is supposed to be this technology private company with, deals with the government, and you're investing in SPACs. And then, that stock went from like, from $40 back down, when the market reset again, stock went down to, $8 or $9. And then like a freight train after the election, that thing went straight almost to 200 and almost in a straight line, right? So when you talk about crypto, it's not that I'm a believer in the cryptocurrencies or a non-believer. I'm a guy that believes in momentum, technology, and where the volume goes. So when I see things like individual stocks trading 50, 60, 70, 100 million shares a day, it can't just be kids on Reddit that are trading 2-3 grand, right? I mean, you're talking real money, real movement, things are moving. So, what do I see out there right now? I don't know, man. Coming into the end of the year, yes, we can look at jobs reports, we can look at everything else, but I feel like today's new trader, today's new investors, they've taken that stuff and it's taken a back seat. Everybody just looks at what's in the headlines, what's on social media. When they do a quick AI search, what are they spitting out as like the top, guys like, oh, what's the top 5 AI companies that I can buy? And it's pretty nuts. People take whatever AI spits out and they'll start buying those symbols like it's nothing. So, that's kind of like my thought process. What we do here, and we've got a really in-depth practice. I mean, we work with folks from all walks of life, from first responders to school teachers to all the guys' jerseys you see hanging on my wall. We're really big in the NHL and NFL from an insurance and investment standpoint. But even some of the guys with the most money, they constantly ask us, what should we be doing? And we're like, look, diversification, diversification, diversification. And I don't want to sound like that old guy in a cheap suit. It's an old broker talking about diversification, but on any given day, in any given second, one tweet could sink a symbol 50%. So you better make sure you take your money and you break it up, even if it's exposed to a sector. I don't mind concentration in a sector. What I mind is concentration in one symbol. So when it comes to the crypto, I would be involved in the data centers, all the technology behind building it, the things that are going to continue to drive it, not just one specific coin that, somebody's going to move up or down with a tweet or one kind of headline.
I just brought this up because we're slightly delayed here, but I was bringing it up when you were talking about just the amount of volume trading. Adrian, who's a friend of ours, $1.39 trillion in volume for a strategy. And strategy's been hit, right? And I've held through the bloodiness so far, so I haven't sold a share yet. But, it gets to you kind of get in that original thesis. Like, they haven't changed the thesis initially from where I think they're going to go. But you have to look at this as a trader and see, okay, there's a lot of volume here. And Adrian's a great follow if you guys don't check that out. But I don't know if you guys touch that stock. If you don't, we can move on. But curious your take on strategy overall.
Yeah, so we're not involved at all in any single stock. In this fund, it's really it's options on really only two ETFs, primarily IBIT, and we do a little bit in BITO. Nothing to do with any single stock. I can make a bull and a bear case both on the strategy thing. We'll know 10 years from now who was right, who was wrong. It's very interesting and was great when Bitcoin was going straight up. I'm curious to see how it plays out. For me, I don't really focus on all the macro stuff when it comes to it. I really care about volatility. You said that earlier. And for people not entrenched in the options market, they think of volatility about going up and down. For me, that's part of it. But it's really the implied volatility of the options, right? You go back to Black-Scholes and there's 6 inputs into it and 5 of them are fixed. The one variable is implied volatility. Really, it's just supply and demand of options. What happened in the last 6 months or let's start back a year ago, but after the election and everything went crazy, you kind of saw implied volatility just going in a straight line down. I mean, you looked at IBIT vol that got as high as 70-something right after the election, and you started seeing it make its way down to 60, to 50, to 45, to 40. It got as low as the low 30s. Now, it didn't make sense to me. And because we do sell options and we are short volatility, but we're still going to be short them, but we changed the term structure and we were much more short term when vol got really cheap this summer. But it didn't make sense. I mean, you have the S&P VIX trading, between 15 and 20. The NASDAQ vol is always a premium to that. So even if you call the S&P 16 vol and the NASDAQ 22, are you really only giving Bitcoin, a 10-point vol premium over that? So It made no sense. Now what happened? Since the summer, Bitcoin went down 35% top to bottom. But let's say since that point when it was 115 and now it's 90, 95. So it had a 20-something% drop. But implied volatility went back up into the low 50s and high 40s, depending on where in the term structure. There's just a lot of opportunity. Now, for us, we're extracting premium by selling the puts. We're not ever levering because you can make a lot of money not levered selling puts. I joke, it's a hitting single strategy, just like our first fund, but it's a hitting single strategy on such a high volatile asset that you're hitting doubles and triples. But if you lever up, you can blow out. And we're not looking to do that for our investors either. So we don't take any leverage. We only sell puts based on the notional of AUM that we have, never on a delta basis. But for people that are saying, hey, is now a good time to come in? I read about Bitcoin. It's down a lot. I'm a little nervous. I'm like, forget about if it's up or down. No one knows if it's going up or down from here. But let's talk about percentage terms. If today is day one, selling an option in July at 33 vol and selling one now at 49 vol in a flat market where we were going to make 2.5% to 3% a month in a flat market for our investors. Now we're 3 to 4% a month. Now eventually the vol will reset. But so what made me excited about this conversation when we were talking about it even was we just have a totally different view or from a different scope when we look at the crypto world. Like I had a meeting yesterday with potential investors, and I go, look, I'm not necessarily bullish on Bitcoin directionally, but I'm bullish on it being here. And forget about even the fundamentals. If you brought some engineer that mines and stuff, he's going to talk circles around me when it comes to there. But like Chris was saying, it's supply and demand. It's momentum. It's where money's going. And agree, like when you see some of these stocks, the amount of shares that they're going, I mean, it's just another asset that people can be involved in. What's really different than people buying artwork, people buying baseball cards? When I was younger,
Am I frozen or is he?
No, he's got a little pause there. He got a little.
David's frozen.
Perfect.
David, I think we lost you for a second.
Let's cut over to Chris here for a sec while Dave's cut out. Dave,
technical difficulties.
Yeah, anything Chris stand out to you?
So him and I have very similar philosophies, right? But when I see things breaking out and making higher highs, anybody that's been around me for 25 plus years will tell you one of my slogans is always get out when you can, not when you have to. So I'm big on, especially stuff that is speculative, like a Bitcoin or a Palantir or IREN or any of these, MSTR, any of these things that made dramatic moves. Yes, you could always feel like something's going to continue to go higher. But as a trader, listen, some of us, look, my personal business, my wealth management business with my partner, Eric, for the Wealth Empowerment Team, yeah, we're long-term. So, a lot of times we'll build positions for people and we're looking to hold them 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. We're not looking to trade in and out of stuff. But if you're actively managing a certain portfolio, or you're actively managing, especially if you have concentration, when things break out, it's okay to lighten up your position, take some profits off the table, and pullbacks are healthy. Like a Bitcoin probably needed that pullback. It kind of needed to reestablish, let some institutions see. All right, David's back with us.
Yeah. I had some issue with my laptop. So just all of a sudden it started squiggling and it dropped everyone. I don't know if it was me. Well, obviously it was me because you guys are still on here. So
David, you're spitting so much fire, you overheated the computer, my friend.
Yeah. I went from talking to you guys to hearing a trade getting filled to being like, wait, I'm talking to nobody.
Okay.
Well, let's keep going, Chris. Chris, I had a question on, not to cut you off, but you said something interesting, which is when you're get out when you can get out. So I'm curious because I am a notorious, you can check my feed, I am a notorious hodler. I hold Bitcoin, I don't trade it. So I'm curious from both of your guys' perspective, when you say get out when you can get out, what are you looking at there? On our end in the crypto world, a lot of people look at top signals, and there's a famous coin glass bull market peak indicators, the 4-year cycle. That's 30 top signals. A lot of people look at that. But again, I'm a hodler, so I'm not necessarily looking at that. What are you telling your clients as it comes to crypto, as it comes to Bitcoin? When you say
I'll give you a perfect example, right? I mentioned Palantir in this conversation. Look, we clear Fidelity, so we don't have, $1 zillion of Bitcoin on our books and our portfolios on what we do. A lot of it is individual securities and stocks. We don't send the money out for others to manage. We actively manage and build out the portfolios ourselves with our team. My background is trading, so I'm not going to pay somebody else to build a portfolio for us. If I was going to do that, why would somebody hire me to manage their money? Just go buy a fund, right? So Palantir, I brought it up before. I'll use that as an example. Going into the last earnings report, I spoke to people and I said, look, what is your outlook? And to answer your question is, as an investor or a trader, you have to know, is this a long-term position for you? Is this something that you feel and say, okay, I think they're going to continue to grow, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Palantir, do I feel like it's going to continue to grow? Is this something that I see 2-3 years down the road as something that I feel good about? And if you do, and you're like, I'm going to be a long-term holder, then when things break out, you're actually adding to that position as it's breaking out, because you're saying, now there's conviction in what I believe and what I'm seeing. That's as a long-term guy. Looking at a chart, it piles, let's say the number's $200, right? Because that's what Palantir was. They came out with the earnings, blew right through 200. Now, it did pull back, but that gave some conviction where I can put money to work here. I feel good about what I'm seeing. Now, if the other side of the coin is like, look, I own this thing from $30, $40. I've got a lot of concentration in it. Do I think the stock's going to go from 200 to 400? Or maybe I'm thinking about getting out of this stuff. There might be some other stuff that is kind of trailing that hasn't hit what I think the potential is. And I think there's a lot more upside in, building out a portfolio of 10 stocks instead of keeping it in that. So then what I tell people, that's when you get out when you can, not when you have to. If something breaks out, sell into that up move, because as you're selling into that up move, there's people with conviction that are going to give you liquidity. They're going to be buying that breakout move as it goes higher, and you can move on. The last thing you want is to be kind of not sure about what you're going to do, and all of a sudden something breaks down a little bit, makes a lower low, and all of a sudden the whole entire market now feels heavy. And now you're in panic mode because you already started to process this number in your head of what you were going to do with that money, whether it's going to be buy something, move it out of the market, or reinvest it. And now it's, oh my God, I'm down 10% from where I was spending this money, and down 15% where I was spending this money. Now you're forced to make a decision. And that's not a good feeling. So I always tell people, like, leading into an event, kind of know where you stand and what you want to do. And that's usually my theory. For the people that I'm going to hold this long term, I said, look, if the news is good, we're buying more and we're going to carry the momentum. If not, let's put out an offer, let's get taken, and let's just kind of move to cash, and then we'll reposition over the next few days.
Smart.
I love that. Love that.
I'm just thinking of strategy. I said the same thing in my head. I was like, all right, there's a lot of like negative news coming out. The MSCI news right now, I don't know if you guys saw that, obviously has been big news, and there's just been a lot of negativity. But that's the same on the flip side. It's like, all right, if the entire Twitter is saying sell, maybe don't. Like, you got to take a look at kind of, I always say, like, zig when they zag.
Well, yeah, if you miss the time to do it, it's like, I mean, they're the saying in my world: buy puts when you can, not when you have to. Like, I had people saying to me, should I? The VIX went from 18 to 40. Should I protect my portfolio? I'm like, what are you protecting? I mean, you already lost 10%, and the VIX already went 2.5 times up. So, you can't really you don't want to do it after the fact.
Yeah, we're gonna if you have something quick, but Powell's speaking right now, so we were gonna go for like 10 minutes or so and watch Powell, if you have that ready, Ryan.
I do.
And then we'll come back though, and we'll go till about 3:00 for those listening.
I think I have it going.
Yeah, I gotta add it.
You got it. All right.
All right, we could do some live commentary. Actually, you guys can still hear us, yeah?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hear you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and obviously everything's kind of just slowing down now on the charts. Everything's just going to wait here, and here we go.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Although important federal government data for the past couple of months have yet to be released, available public and private sector data suggests that the outlook for employment and inflation has not changed as much since our meeting in October. Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals, in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. As a separate matter, we also decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities solely for the purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time, thus supporting effective control of our policy rate. I will have more to say about monetary policy and its implementation after briefly reviewing economic developments. Although some key government data have yet to be released, available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. Consumer spending appears to have remained solid, and business fixed investment has continued to expand. In contrast, activity in the housing sector remains weak. The temporary shutdown of the federal government has likely weighed on economic activity in the current quarter, but these effects should be mostly offset by higher growth next quarter, reflecting the reopening. In our summary of economic projections, the median participant projects that real GDP will rise 1.7% this year and 2.3% next year, somewhat stronger than projected in September. In the labor market, although
Imagine if you had a little more time.
We got to get you the premium, Ryan.
Time to talk.
Perceptions of
There you
job
go.
availability and firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continue to decline. The official report on the labor market for September, the most recent release, showed that the unemployment rate continued to edge up, reaching 4.4%, and that job gains had slowed significantly since earlier in the year. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well. In this less dynamic and somewhat softer labor market, the downside risks to employment appear to have risen in recent months. In our SEP, the median projection of the unemployment rate is 4.5% at the end of this year and edges down thereafter. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Very little data on inflation have been released since our meeting in October. Total PCE prices rose 2.8% over the 12 months ending in September, and excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices also rose 2.8%. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up, reflecting the effects of tariffs. In contrast, disinflation appears to be continuing for services. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have declined from their peaks earlier in the year, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation is 2.9% this year and 2.4% next year, a bit lower than the median projection in September. Thereafter, the median falls to 2%. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a 1/4 percentage point to 3.5 to 3.75%. In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. A reasonable base case is that the effects of tariffs on inflation will be relatively short-lived, effectively a one-time shift in the price level. Our obligation is to make sure that a one-time increase in the price level does not become an ongoing inflation problem. But with downside risks to employment having risen in recent months, the balance of risks has shifted. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate. Accordingly, we judged it appropriate at this meeting to lower our policy rate by a 1/4 percentage point. With today's decision, we have lowered our policy rate 3/4 percentage point over our last 3 meetings. This further normalization of our policy stance should help stabilize the labor market while allowing inflation to resume its downward trend toward 2% once the effects of tariffs have passed through. The adjustments to our policy stance since September bring it within a range of plausible estimates of neutral and leave us well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. In our summary of economic projections, FOMC participants wrote down their individual assessments of an appropriate path of the federal funds rate under what each participant judges to be the most likely scenario for the economy. The median participant projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be 3.4% at the end of 2026 and 3.1% at the end of 2027, unchanged from September. As is always the case, these individual forecasts are subject to uncertainty and they're not a committee plan or decision. Monetary policy is not on a preset course, and we will make our decisions on a meeting-by-meeting basis. Let me turn now to issues related to the implementation of monetary policy, with the reminder that these issues are separate from and have no implications for the stance of monetary policy. In light of the continued tightening in money market interest rates relative to our administered rates and other indicators of reserve market conditions, The committee judged that reserve balances have declined to ample levels. Accordingly, at today's meeting, the committee decided to initiate purchases of shorter-term Treasury securities, mainly Treasury bills, for the sole purpose of maintaining an ample supply of reserves over time. Such increases in our securities holdings ensure that the federal funds rate remains within its target range and are necessary because the growth of the economy leads to rising demand over time for our liabilities, including currency and reserves. As detailed in a statement released today by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, reserve management purchases will amount to $40 billion in the first month and may remain elevated for a few months to alleviate expected near-term pressures in money markets. Thereafter, we expect the size of reserve management purchases to decline, though the actual pace will depend on market conditions. In our implementation framework, an ample supply of reserves means that the federal funds rate and other short-term interest rates are primarily controlled by the setting of our administered rates, rather than day-to-day discretionary interventions in money markets. In this regime, standing repurchase agreement or repo operations are a critical tool to ensure that the federal funds rate remains within its target range, even on days of elevated pressures in money markets. Consistent with this view, the committee eliminated the aggregate limit on standing repo operations. These operations are intended to support monetary policy implementation and smooth market functioning and should be used when economically sensible. To conclude, the Fed has been assigned two goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. We remain committed to supporting maximum employment, bringing our inflation sustainably down to our 2% goal, and keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans. We understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. At the Fed, we will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
All right.
Initial thoughts. The market looks like it's reacting positively, but David, I saw you looking. You were looking to your left, so I didn't know if you were trading in real time.
Yeah, I mean, when I was just adjusting some orders, but you know, he said they're buying treasuries. I mean, that's what I was listening for. It's like, you know, there's nothing more bullish than the Fed, you know, doing stuff like that. So to me, you know, look, we've seen the last few Fed meetings. We might go up more today. We might sell off today. Who knows? Tomorrow might be the opposite. But I think this leads to a year-end rally in risk assets. You know, we might sell off in January. It might be short-lived. But to me right now, this is all right. You know, the Fed is. Powell wasn't showing for a few months what he was going to do. He was late to cut, then he starts cutting. You know, he's doing kind of what Trump wants him to do. You got a friendly administration. You've got now seems like a non-hawkish Fed. I think you got to just follow that.
Mm-hmm. Chris, anything different in your opinion, or you agree?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I think he's very late to the party, and you know, for the general public that is out there that aren't economists and don't understand the numbers, you know what they know? You know what they know? That their Amex bills have doubled without buying anything addition. I think people understand when they walk out of the supermarket and they see what they spent and how empty the cart is. I think that's what people really care about. And, you know, he talks about inflation, he talks about the housing market. Yeah, the housing market is really difficult because there was a housing boom. And unfortunately, you know, unless they change the tax code, you have all of this profit. All these folks have profits built into their homes, their primary residence. They can't sell them because if they do, they're giving up the cheap interest rates that they had, right, that they locked in. Yeah. They're going to pay a huge capital gains tax. And then they got to go out, and it's almost like a lateral move into a house that's just as expensive at a higher interest rate. So, you know, the housing market's not going to, you know, that's the reason why the housing market is where it is. I mean, I think he's just out of touch with the general public. Me personally, I think everything he's doing now has been kind of forced, but it's too little, too late. Look, us as market guys, we understand the economy as a scale. We understand what needs to be done here. You just can't cut rates all the time and, you know, do what everybody wants. But the general public, I mean, the people that are out there, it is hard. Amex bills have doubled. shopping is really, really expensive. And you have, look, I'll give you an example, right? I'm married with 4 kids. My youngest is a senior in high school getting ready to go to college. I don't need this giant house anymore, right? I don't need a giant house. Like I could be that traditional old school American that, all my kids are off to college and out of the house. I can kind of reduce my footprint if I wanted to, but I can't. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't, because I'm not going to give up the interest rate that I had. And if I do, where am I going? I got to pay a huge capital gains tax on my profits on my property. I'll just stay where I am, right? And I think that's why the housing market is stuck in the mud. Ron, I live in Florida, right? So Ron DeSantis has been talking about cutting property tax, which I don't know. Look, obviously, yeah, as a homeowner, it's great. Yeah. Eliminate my property tax. I'll be very happy not to write that check every year. But what I'd really like to see them all do is I'd like to see them come up with some sort of creative way to kind of amend what's happening with the capital gains tax on primary residence for people. I think that would give a lot more flexibility. And you talk about, during COVID, a lot of people left, New York, they left California. And look, we're not getting into politics. People left for their own reasons, right? However, right now, if you live like in Florida and some of these other states that actually caught up to the bigger states as far as like properties and values, like if you wanted to sell your home in Florida right now, like in the Boca Raton or Delray Beach area, and move back up to like Connecticut or New Jersey, it's almost like you can go to New Jersey and get, you could sell your house here for $2 million and go buy a house for $1 million up there and get a lot for your money. It almost reversed, but people won't do it because they don't want to pay the capital gains on their properties here. So I think if they found a way to kind of not eliminate, but kind of amend maybe those property taxes on real estate, I think there'd be a lot more movement in the housing market. The boom would pick up, and I think things would, get out of the mud.
Yeah, not to go all conspiracy mode, but like there's been a lot of tweets about this, a lot of data with like even birth rates declining. So like we're not going to find ourselves in a situation where they go out and build tons of homes this next couple of years, do you think? Or is it too far down the road with the birth rates? 18 years, 20 years, they're thinking day by day type of thing.
I don't know, man. Everywhere I turn, they're building everywhere. And I think they'll continue to build. I really do.
You're down in Florida.
Sorry?
You're down in Florida, so that everything's booming right now.
There's plenty of cranes where I look in New York City.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, listen, I'm a New York guy at heart. I mean, I was born and raised, living in New York my whole life. Being a New York transplant down here, I actually miss New York. I love New York. To me, it's the heartbeat of the entire world. I don't mind the cold. There's something about getting off that train and walking to your office and just the energy, the people. And, people say, so what's different? You go to your office in Florida, you go to an office in New York. I don't know. It's like walking into, maybe a professional football stadium, I don't know, in Arizona, as opposed to walking into, Lambeau Field. It's just different.
I used to say you walk out and you kind of just get on the highway. You don't have time to like speed up. Everyone's just walking past you. David, I want to send it back to you. Any last thoughts here on kind of what you just heard there? Anything I guess that still might be said, or we're missing the questions right now, but anything that could.
I agree with Chris. He was late. I mean, he was late. I was saying this, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I was saying this back in 2022. Also, he was late that way. He was late this way. At this point, I don't think it matters. By the next meeting, we know who the next Fed chairman's going to be. At that point, whether Powell cuts again or doesn't cut again, I think he kind of showed that he's now transitioning to the next Fed, who will be more, at least initially, probably more accommodative, less hawkish. It's all about money supply, right? And that money, as it expands, is going to flow places, and it's going to flow into stocks, and it's going to flow into other risk assets, probably Bitcoin. Again, I'm not saying Bitcoin won't have another big sell-off. I mean, maybe we rally first, but you got to follow the money supply. You got to follow where things are going.
Last little piece on that. Now I blanked out on the question, actually. Shit.
I'll pop in real quick. Chris, David said something a little earlier that I thought was a fine choice of words, which he said non-hawkish statements. Does that mean that we're headed towards a dovish tone. We heard 40 billion in treasuries being purchased in 30 days here. He mentioned downside risks in the labor market has risen, but inflation has eased, remains only somewhat elevated. Are we entering dovish territory? Are we seeing, as the retail industry says, the money printer go burr? Or are we kind of still in neutral territory here?
I personally think we're still in neutral territory. I think systematically you're going to see things that are going to have to kind of go with the blueprint of what they're doing. But I think the mindset and the emotion there is for them to kind of be neutral. And that's kind of how I'll view it, that I don't think any, I'll take it when I see it, when they actually follow through with more. But for now, I feel like they're just going through the process, right? They're just kind of going through the motions of doing what they have to do. He's cutting rates, so he's going to go buy treasuries. He's going to do all the things that are kind of systematic to kind of the way the trend is going. But I still think it's almost like he's being kicked in the butt to kind of do it, to be honest. That's kind of my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to look this up quick. I remembered my question. Seeing that this is likely, Powell's end here, I think you said he's got one more. Is there a history of people trying to save face and like what their legacy is going to look like, in past administrations at all, or do they? It's not a big deal.
I don't think. Well, he has more than one more. I said by the next one we'll already know who the next chair is. He has a few more. Listen, I think his legacy was determined by him and Trump going at it for the last 10 months and the nicknames and the name calling and him. Listen, we could agree. People have opinions on if he should call him out or not, but I do think more people I know than not feel like he was too late. I don't really know what he could do in the next 4 months to change that legacy. But on the flip side, we'll see what the future holds. But even though I think he was too late raising rates and I think he was too late cutting rates, it has been a relatively soft landing when you look at risk assets. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, right? I can call him out on things where I disagree, but the fact is that the market looks past a lot of things. I mean, the S&P is within 1% of an all-time high. A lot of stocks have gone up a lot. And what they talk about, the K-shape economy, whatever. But so I think his legacy has been determined. It's just a matter of what camp are you in, the soft landing camp, or are you in the he's in too late camp?
Mm-hmm. Chris, anything to add here? Or Ryan, you got something here?
Yeah, I know you guys got to hop here in a couple minutes, so let's just go around the horn. Final words, and maybe we have almost 600 people tuned in right now on X, listening, more on YouTube. So if there's any stock or product or anything that you guys think they should have their eyes on, now is your time. Let them know. We'll start with you, Chris.
So look, you guys can go to mytermlife.ai. Even though that's my insurance platform, we're a full wealth management. My contact info is there. I engage with all of our clients individually, whether it's the goalie for the Stanley Cup champions or it's the local police officer. I really do. I engage with everybody. I talk strategy, whether it's long-term, short-term, individual stocks, or it's ETFs. And look, the Palantirs of the world, the stocks like that are super high, that are super aggressive, super volatile. I could talk strategy, covered calls. I can build out stuff for people all day long. I'm a voice of reason, and I know I've been doing this forever. And the thing is different. I actually own most of these things, and I've traded them personally. So when I give people advice, it's stuff that I've gone through on my own as well. So, that's really what it comes down to. But you guys got a great program here, man. I love being a part of this. David, hearing you speak and everybody involved, I mean, this has been an incredible opportunity. I thank you, and hopefully I'll get an invite to come back in the future.
I was just going to say, yeah, we had fun with you guys, so we'll definitely keep you in the rotation and have you back.
I like that.
So you gave the website, and David, where would people connect with you?
Yeah, so we have two, as I mentioned, we have two option strategies. Our first one's RS Low Beta Opportunity Fund. Second one, RS Crypto Income Fund. You can email me. My email is david@rslowbeta.com. We don't care about hitting the home runs. It sounds crazy in a strategy that you're trying to make 3% a month, but we really just took a strategy that over the last few years has been averaging about 1% a month in a low risk strategy for using options on the S&P. And we said, hey, let's do it on a higher volatile asset. We have the wind at our backs because when we launched, crypto was still kind of poo-poo. And now it's like that new sexy toy to a lot of people. And a lot of people that feel like they missed the boat, they're like, wait, so you're telling me you're going to buffer part of the downside? And anyone interested in the strategy further, reach out directly to me. But you're going to buffer part of the downside. If it ever has a big sell-off, I'd be comfortable entering. And if it doesn't, I'm going to get paid to wait. It makes a lot of sense. So we really just look at with these two funds and future funds we launch as how can we utilize options in the correct way? Most people, when they trade options, they buy options. Chris mentioned covered calls. I think it's a great strategy for people that are involved in the market from the long side to generate income. But most people want to either hit the next home run and find the Palantir that's going to go up 20-fold and buy cheap upside calls, or they're going to spend premium and protect their portfolio buying puts. Listen, life insurance companies are in business for a reason. They're selling something that is too expensive. Over the long run, options are priced too expensive. At given times during the year, they become cheap, and you hope to weather the storm during that time. But over a long period of time, we're taking something that should be trading here, we're selling it here. We're just constantly hitting singles. It is it's not necessarily the most sexy strategy, but it works, and it's an alternative investment. And we take less risk than the underlying asset that we're involved in. We have a much better return profile than fixed income. They're really just high-paying, income-generating instruments in the alternative investment universe.
Wow, let's hear it for hitting singles. I love it. I love it.
The turtle did win the race, Nice.
But yeah, this was very enjoyable. I agree. I had a good time doing it. I could do it for another hour if I didn't have to worry about trading the close. But I enjoyed it a lot.
Now
go to work, boys. Go to work.
Yeah, we'll let you guys go. Thanks everyone for joining. The old pounding the table fans coming back. Gabe Goldstein. Big shout out to my boy. And we'll have to have you guys back sometime. And this was real fun.
Thank you.
All righty, guys. Happy trading.
See you guys. We're going to end the stream. Thanks for everyone for listening.
Bye.
Good.